Good evening, everybody. Welcome back to the Global Championships here, powered by GT Omega. And it is time for round number 8 of the season. Things are really heating up in the championship battle. With 3 rounds to go, there are still 3 teams with a glorious chance. Who will take victory here at the odds of Autodromo Hermanos Rodriguez for the Mexican Grand Prix? My name is Luke Etheridge, and joining me is a very tanned Joshua Davis. Josh, how are you doing?
Hello, Luke. Yeah, I'd like to think I'm a little bit tan tonight, but yeah, it was a little bit of a miss last night. I was on holiday, but we're all back now for the Mexican Grand Prix. Obviously, a fantastic event for VSR's, for what VSR are concerned, with that 1-2 finish at China. Louis Welch and Georges Nida doing absolutely wonders for them. But Race Clutch, you're going to have to try and go back to the drawing board. 5th and 7th last time around. They're going to have to pull this one out the bag with a really, really good result. But theoretically speaking, now it's probably going to be the only 3 teams that are going to fight for this championship: VSR, Race Clutch, and TF10. So really looking forward to see how these guys can play out. Obviously, Mexico, full of surprises. One of my favorite tracks to commentate over. Obviously, got that really, really long back straight, which is very, very easy to overtake, so that's definitely an interesting one. And obviously you don't really want to be pole here. Obviously, looking at qualifying, you don't necessarily want to be pole position, so you can get that slipstream if you are starting on the second row, which is a very, very big opportunity for a lot of those guys starting in the second row. But yeah, it should be an absolutely fantastic race we have today, and hopefully we'll see a lot of action.
Yeah, hopefully we will do. As Josh has already mentioned, last time out it was for Chinese Grand Prix, and it was a fantastic result for VSR. They got a 1-2 in qualifying, and they managed to get a 1-2 in the race, of course, on that medium-soft strategy, playing it to perfection. It was a fantastic comeback from Alfie Butcher from the back of the grid all the way up towards 3rd place, just keeping TF10 in contact. And you can see the championship standings up on your screen now. 158 points for VSR. Race Clutch only 12 points behind TF10. 42 off the top at the moment on 116. They could really do with closing that gap slightly now with only 3 races to go. Parnell leading that best of the rest battle. And a good race last time out for WOR as well. More than doubled their points for the entire season, taking themselves off the foot of the championship up in towards that 10th place. And as Josh has already mentioned, we are at Mexico tonight. It is an extremely long straight. It's going to be another intriguing qualifying session. It could be one where if you're on pole position, you're probably at a bit of a disadvantage down towards that first corner.
Yeah, definitely so. Obviously, third and fourth, gonna have that massive slipstream down that long back straight, which is definitely gonna be a very good occurrence. Obviously, you see it all the time in real life. Usually, you see about 4 or 5 wide going into turn 1. It's a very, very wide track, which is definitely one I am all for in races and on racing tracks, which makes for some really great action. So, gotta be mindful into turn 1 and where the cars are based. So, you really gotta be aware into turn 1, as you always have to be at the start of races. Is usually a lot of carnage, but hopefully we just avoid the melee tonight. Obviously, it was quite a calm race last time, last week at China, so hopefully we get a little bit of a calm race, but obviously we do want some action more time to time. But yeah, it's going to be an absolutely exciting one, and I think we're just about ready to get into Q1.
Yeah, I think the stewards were quite happy it was a quiet race last time out, which definitely did made a change. We've already spoken about, you know, VSR having a great race. TF10, Alfie Butcher managing to come back. Fabrizio Donoso not quite managing it. We are only going to have 19 drivers, we believe, as Caden Lutz, who was meant to be racing for Paradox Sim Racing for PSR, he has unfortunately broken his toe and will be unable to take part, and they didn't have anyone available to reserve at such a short notice. So only 4 drivers going out in this first qualifying session. And as we've sure everyone at home is aware who's seen this before, it is the same qualifying format as Real Formula 1, and then it will be a half distance race, so a 36 lap race. And this is one of the few circuits on the game where you can make the alternate strategy work if you want to.
Yeah, definitely so. We may see medium to soft, medium, or hard to soft even is a possibility. It's probably a little bit too slow. Or even the 2-stop. I've seen the 2-stop work a couple of times from soft, medium, medium, or medium, soft, soft, however you like to play it. It's definitely an interesting factor. This track strategy is just enormous, to be honest. There's a lot of opportunities that can go to. Obviously, a lot of people will definitely be trying that 1-stop just as is. Probably going to be the quickest out of the lot just to get going and just get a lap on the board easy going. But yeah, we could see a two-stop. We could see an alternate strategy. A lot of people maybe trying for the mediums. I probably would assume there are now, even in Q1, the majority of the grid are on the medium compound tires. Obviously, Samuel Bairn on the wet compound tires just to make sure everything's working all okay. But a majority of people are on the medium compound tires. A few on the soft compound tires, but the majority on the mediums, which is quite early, quite interesting early on to see that everyone else is on the medium compound tires that early. But maybe they just want to get things going just to see how the tyres are, how the track plays out. Fully dry so far, so hopefully for the driver's sake that's a good sign for the race. But yeah, we never know around Mexico. Sometimes it can rain, and when it does rain, it really rains hard.
Yeah, the quite tropical climate, unsurprisingly, in Mexico. So, like just said, when it does start to rain, you do tend to know about it. Thankfully, as it's quite a short track, drivers can usually make it around pretty unscathed. You can see the drivers who will be taking part then tonight. We'll quickly go through them. For TF10, it is Butcher and Donoso. For WOR, it's going to be Miklavchich and Dempsey. Porno Racing have got Sam McBride and Jack Fresh. Shizou have got Tony Ritchie making his debut in the series, and Harlan Marquis. FVR, Ismail Fassi and Nardi Perez. ADRT have got Jan Halliday, who we're on board with now, and Gregory Balatti. Race Clutch have Bean and Sipos. ET8 have Finch and Moldovan. And VSR have Nadir and Thomas Harvey. And it is going to be Jan Halliday who takes us out on a lap then of this circuit down the incredibly long run towards turn number 1. One of the longest on the Formula 1 calendar. 200 miles per hour, about 320 into the heavy braking zone for the chicane. It's crucial that you don't go too deep there. You've got to keep your momentum up through the right, left, right for the first couple of corners. DRS open once more. It is only one detection point for the 2 DRS zones, so that does give the car behind a bit of an advantage. Heading into turn 4, we'll see some drivers trying to fight it side by side at this part of the circuit. Heading into a double apex hairpin now of turn number 6, and normally by this point you've got to get the battle sorted out, because you won't see too many drivers wanting to go side by side through the S's, the corners, which really do cause for drivers a lot of trouble around this circuit. But Jan just dealing with them quite comfortably at the moment. The Czech driver having a bit of a wobble there as he heads his way through turn 11 into the 4 also. Turn number 12, the old Perel Tauda corner. Of course, not used anymore for safety reasons, but it has given this superb stadium section its debut in Formula 1. Nice and clean through Jan, through there, through the double right-handers of 16 and 17. He'll hug the right-hand side of the track, and he does a 1:15.250. It did look like a clean lap, and this is one of those circuits, like so many on the calendar, it's a compromise with the strategy. If it wasn't for the S's, you'd have barely any downforce on your car around here.
Yeah, definitely so. Jan Halliday 15.250 on the medium compound tyres. Not bad at all. Andrew Karapi, the lone PSR driver tonight, 15.939. Maybe a couple of mistakes in there. Georges Nader, P2 last time out. Gets things going once again with 15.084 for his sake for VSR. And I'm sure they'll be very happy at the VSR camp with that one. Bogdan Moldovan, 15.795. Jack West now puts it into P1 for par now, 50.058, just pipping Georges Nader to pole position there. Brilliant lap time from Mr. West, who comes in for Liam Parnell tonight in the Parnell team. Fully switched up their roster from Liam Parnell and Tom Roberts last time out. Jack West and Sam McBride come in tonight. Round in the final corner is the other VSR driver of Thomas Harvey, and across the line puts it into P3. So VSR pitting there 2-3, Thomas Harvey 15.237. So pretty good outing from Parnell so far. VSR will be happy with that 2 and 3 as well, with Jan Halliday put it into P4. They'll definitely be happy with that at the ADRT camp.
Yeah, ADRT, at the moment this season, Halliday has scored all their points. I mean, not Halliday, sorry, Papinta has scored all their points. Halliday has raced for them a couple of times, 12th and 17th in his races. Jack West making only his 3rd appearance of the season tonight. He got a 2nd place at Imola in the torrentially wet conditions, a race which was pretty much sorted by the grid there. Could only manage 17th in Saudi Arabia, which, you know, in Saudi Arabia is always a bit of a unique circuit. Not many drivers going out on sets of the soft tyres at the moment. Ismail Fassi did try earlier on a set of the soft, but it looks as though he'd backed off on that lap. Looks as though he's pushing a bit more now, but I still don't think really going too flat out. And we've got Tony Ritchie for the Shizou squad as well, also trying to set a lap on those softs. We'll be, obviously by the end of the session, we'll be seeing everyone heading out there on the set of the soft tyres. So we can't really pay too much attention to the times the drivers have set at the moment. It's always nice, though, to just be on top of the order for now. Just get that tiny little bit of bragging rights for the rest of the session.
Yeah, definitely so. And obviously, Jack West will be taking all of those bragging rights. Currently top spot with on his outlap at the moment on the soft compound tyres alongside Alfie Butcher, who is prepping the soft compound tyres. Ismail Fassi as well on the softs. PSGL PlayStation runner-up as Harlan Marquis has disconnected, unfortunately. Hopefully he can get back in as quickly as possible. He was on a lap at the moment, I'm not quite sure. I think Thomas Harvey tried to go for one more but just couldn't quite get a better lap in. Now Andrew Crappy was on an outlap, decides to abandon that one as Tony Roche now starts his first flying lap in the session. And actually that was his first lap as well, 60.315. I think he backed out somewhere on that line, so he's going to go for one more on the soft compound tyres for Shazoon, the first man to venture out on the soft compound tyres.
Yeah, the softs are a really good tyre around this circuit, certainly for qualifying. Again, it's one of those circuits, if you can get into the top 10 on a set of the mediums, you're probably advantageous on the race. And on this game, unlike previous ones, the one stop is still quicker, but if you have to do a two-stop strategy, if you get damage earlier on, you're not really out of the action. You can definitely work your way up the order and put in some decent performances. On board now with the Hungarian, the esports driver, Patrick Sipos, racing for Race Clutch. Now, last time out, Race Clutch decided in qualifying, in Q2, to both go for the set of soft tyres, which turned out to definitely not be the best strategy. They were kind of just left sitting ducks at the end of the race. You might remember, I think he was having a fantastic battle with Drake Dempsey, and the two VSR cars were just able to sweep their way through and get their way to a very nice 1-2, the second one we've seen of the season, with Race Clutch getting the other one at the round before, of course, as Sipos now heads towards the finish line. This is going to be our first lap in the 1 minute 14, so 1:14, 8:28 then for Patrick Sipos, instantly beaten by Richie on that set of the soft tyres, but you'd expect he might need a tiny bit more than that on another run if he wants to be safe in this session.
Yeah, definitely so. I think everyone from who said a lap time now is probably going to have to go again. Patrick Sipos, brilliant lap time on those medium compound tyres to get into the 14.828. Tony Roche, again, a good lap on those soft compound tyres, 14.778. So only a couple of hundred separating Sipos to Roche there. That's a brilliant time by the both of them. I think they're probably going to have to go again. You're looking maybe around the mid to low 14s. I think is probably going to get you safe. Maybe a high 13.9. Not 100% sure how the tyre wear will play out if people do decide to keep on the mediums or not. I highly doubt it, as they have gone fairly early on the mediums. So you're probably going to be looking around low 14s, high 13s to probably see yourself through into Q2. We'll have to wait and see. Samuel Bain, I believe, is on a lap. He's through into Q2. Q2, he's not through into Q2. He's through into Sector 2 on the medium compound tyres, hugging that left-hand side as much as you can. 55.888 in the Sector 2 split, running really low on that ERS, trying to harvest as much as you can, break it fairly late into the stadium section, hugging that curve as much as you can, extend it as much as you can without getting a warning, staying tight to the line for the right-hander across the line, Samuel Bain, and he is the third man to get into the 14s, 14.937, and the second man to get into the 14s on the medium run with the 14.937. A brilliant showing so far from Race Clutch.
Yeah, definitely. Both their drivers into the 14s on a set of the medium tyres, so I think we'll be seeing them for one more run on the softs later just to solidify their place in the second part of qualifying. Gregory Belatti, he's the driver furthest along on a lap on the set of softs as well now. Jack West is also on them, so we'll see what the British driver can do later on, but Belatti just making his way around this fantastic final sector of the lap. Really tight, really twisty. We do sometimes see drivers go for overtakes in there, but you've got to be a brave soul if you're going to make one stick through there. Belatti heads towards the line and in the end goes into third place as Jake Finch has retired from the session. It looks like he's lost that coming out of turn 3.
Yeah, I think he has, trying to ride on boards with Nardi Perez just in the background, and I think he might have just lost that out of turn 4, losing the rear, and that is it for Jake Finch, smacking into the wall. You just don't like to see it this early in the session, and he will start no higher than 19th, and at the back of the field that 19.900 will definitely be beaten on that medium run. Just so unfortunate for Jake Finch. He's had such a great season so far with his appearances, just not really had the luck to try and get up there in those points finishes. Sam McBride, 14.212 on the mediums. Wow! Sam McBride, take a bow. That is a fantastic lap on the medium compound size. Sam McBride, that is fantastic to see. 14.212. And that is fantastic. I can't get my head around that. On the medium compound tyres. Brilliant to see from Sam McBride. And Parnell really pulling it out of the bag this early on. Nardi Perez joins him on the front row to go to a 14.434. George Nader, 13.9 on the mediums. Oh my goodness me, this is fantastic lap times.
Yes, it is. And these are absolutely brilliant lap times. We've got some breaking news, folks. They're going to count for naught. We've got some issues with the lobby. We will be having a restart. So, George Nader, Sam McBride, you've done a brilliant job with those times on the mediums. Unfortunately, they're not going to count. We're going to be restarting this lobby. And that is, you know, it's great news for those that had the connection issues. Obviously, Donoso and Marquis. And I wonder if Jake Finch had a bit of an issue as well. And maybe that's what caused him to crash into the wall. It sounds like he had an issue with his fan attack, actually. So a lucky escape for Jake Finch, but we will be restarting this session, as now Miklavcic has gone fastest on a 5-minute 46, and even I can beat that time around here. So, unfortunately, we will be starting. Apologies for this, and we'll get back underway with the action shortly. Straight away, though, you can see which teams are starting to look good. VSR doing well, Parnell doing well, and Race Clutch looking pretty comfortable as well. But didn't really get to see too much from either of the TF10 cars before that session came to a premature end.
Definitely not. I think Fabrizio did disconnect from that one as well, so we didn't really see much from him. Alfie as well, didn't see much. But yeah, I think they were just waiting for a little bit. Maybe they saw it coming with that, but I'm not sure what happened, to be honest there. I think there may be a few disconnection issues or something along the sorts, which is seen to be a reoccurring theme in this game, but hopefully F1 22 will be a little bit quicker. 3 weeks until that game releases, so should be a lot of fun. That game looks pretty good from the first glance, but yeah, have a little bit of a restart now. I think we will be going into a full qualifying session once again, but yeah, looking good so far from VSR and Parnell to get those brilliant lap times on the mediums, so we'll have to wait and see how we'll go from there. But yeah, it's looking good so far for VSR and also Parnell.
Yeah, definitely. They've done they did a fantastic job in that session. Son says when there's lobby host disconnected, it does cause issues with what the tyres are on, so they may well have been laps on soft tyres are just showing us mediums, because a 1:13 does seem like a ridiculously fast time on a set of mediums, especially compared to what everyone else would be doing. Race Clutch looking more comfortable than they were last week, which is definitely what they need now. It was I think they'll be disappointed with how things went last time out. They did so well a couple of weeks ago at that round a couple of weeks ago. Unfortunately, it didn't really work out for them in China. And as we've said, it's getting to that crunch point of the season now. None of these top 3 teams at the top could afford a bad round.
No, definitely not. These top 3 with VSR, Race Clutch, and also TF10, they cannot finish any lower than top 5. I'm probably going to be assuming maybe top 6 with how they are, 2, 4, 6. You're probably going to want to think they want to try and score as high as possible, and that may get a little bit tense near the end of this season, and definitely if we get to a stage where it's all 3 fighting for the title. But yeah, it's going to be very, very tough for these next few rounds to try and get as much as you possibly can out of these final few rounds. Obviously, Race Clutch have had their fair share of unfortunate events throughout the season. Obviously, Saudi Arabia, Luke Smith having a little bit of trouble between the two of them, and also in Britain where Luke Smith also disconnected from that race from P2, which was definitely looking to try and win it with battling from Fabrizio Donoso. Just didn't quite work out with that connection issue. But obviously VSR, they've been very, very good as well with the penalties that have been applied. They've had a little bit of luck there, and also they've been fantastic on track as well with obviously their 1-2 last time out, and got a couple of wins to their name as well on track. So they look good in the driving seat as well, but it's very, very tense at the moment just to see who will come out on top. Obviously VSR have been leading the championship the longest. I think they have had like a 7-6 race where they've been at the top, and then Race Clutch obviously beat it at China. So they got that there, but then retook it after the Chinese Grand Prix with that brilliant 1-2. Definitely responded very, very well. But we'll have to wait and see how it all plans out. Obviously, it's going to be very, very interesting near the end of the race, but and near the end of the season. But we'll have to wait and see who plans out and who will become victorious at the end.
Yeah, I mean, there's still, there's plenty of races, 3 races to go. There's still, I think it's 132 points up for grabs, and if we get the standings up, as you can see, there's a lot less than 132 points between VSR and TF10 at the moment. Parnell probably just I think, too far back to do anything at the moment, but they seem to be pretty solid in that 4th place. If we talk about some of those teams a bit further down the order, Edictos, Lenny Pinter getting all their points, but the rest have been really up and down. I suppose, excluding PSR as they did join quite late, but Shazoo got most of their points with one fantastic result. Yerne Dovzan getting a 2nd place. WOR getting most of their points last time out. They've had the pace on occasion. It's just that consistency missing, and at this level, that is really what's key. On a hot lap, all these drivers are probably on a good day, 3-4 tenths of a second apart from each other. It's just being able to do it lap after lap after lap in the race, and that's what's making a difference in this championship.
Absolutely so, and a lot of these guys can do this again and again and again on a weekly basis. But obviously, you've got the luck factor in there, but that just comes with time. How you can perfect that lap and perfect the race every single week. That just comes with time as well. Obviously, with a lot of these esports guys, Fabrizio Donoso has been since the very, very start of esports in 2017. You know, and even longer in his sim racing career, he's done that, and he knows how to do it lap after lap after lap. And also, a lot of these guys who have been racing for a long time in also other leagues like WOR, PSGL, and all those kind of leagues, they know how to do it on a weekly basis. But obviously, there are some people here, obviously on PC, that just can't get the luck, or just can't really seem to get that perfect lap every single time, which is just a little bit of a struggle. But obviously, you're going to have to really, really need that to try and get up to the top here. But I'll have to wait and see. Looking a little bit cloudy in Q1, a little bit worse conditions than last time around. But hopefully, you should not see any rain for the foreseeable future. But I'll have to wait and see.
Yeah, definitely does look a bit more overcast than we saw in qualifying, than we saw... apologies, in the first part of qualifying, the aborted qualifying session. So whether that does mean we are going to get any rain or not, and we are hearing, we're just saying in the chat that there might be some rain now at the end of the race, which will certainly affect what strategies drivers go on for in the next part of qualifying. So this is really going to spice things up. But as we head there now out onto the circuit, thankfully other drivers did manage to get in quite early on, so we do thank them all for that. And again, Patrick Sipos, one of the first drivers heading out there on the circuit. This, I imagine, is going to follow a similar pattern to what we saw last time out. The majority of the field going for those mediums for their first run, just to get a bit of that extra practice in.
Yeah, definitely. So a few people on the softs, most of the people on the mediums as well, which is fairly similar to last time around. Obviously, a few people did fairly well in the medium compound size. Georges Nader and also Samrat Bright getting into the low 14s, high 13s with Nader. So yeah, we're looking really, really good from their standpoint. But yeah, probably a lot of people electing for those mediums. Maybe also to hint that there is rain coming. We may have seen maybe there was rain coming in the earlier sessions, so we'll have to, we never know about that, to be honest. But yeah, obviously there's only 2, 3, 4 people on the Sosa Southie Butcher, Ismail Fassi, Samuel Bain, and also Grigori Belatti on those soft compound tires. But obviously they're not out on lap, so that may change in the next couple of seconds. But have to wait and see. But majority of almost everyone else on the medium compound tires, just to get that first lap in and just to see how they're going. 16 minutes left, and I believe it will be one of the Alpine drivers left. I'm not sure if that's Patrick Sipos or it's Samuel Bain. It is Patrick Sipos who actually coming through the same section now to start the first lap in the new qualifying session.
Yeah, it is going to be the Hungarian esports man, Patrick Sipos, making his way around the final corner. And seeing as I took us for a lap around with Jan Holladage last time, I'm going to let Josh take you for a lap of this 4.3 kilometre circuit.
Well, then, here we are with Patrick Sipos coming down into turn 1. Primoz Mikovic and Grigori Belatti just to those right-hand side, getting out of the pit lane. Looking around the 100-metre board in towards turn 1 as tight as you can on the curb. Hop on the left, you can cut that sausage curb, and again on the right if you're brave enough. A little bit of a snap, a big snap there for Patrick Sipos. Does decide to carry on with the lap nevertheless into the sector 1 split, 28.448. I'm sure he's not going to be happy with that one into third, and I believe he may have backed out of that one. It's looking likely he probably has. We might have a look towards Georges Nader, who's on a medium run. We'll run on board with him, the Lebanese driver, in towards that double right-hander. You want to go very, very wide for the first one, but cut in as much as you can to the second one, holding into sector 2 then, where you mainly going to see a lot of penalties and invalidations happen. You've got to be ready on the limits, and you can see there Georges Nader just a little bit too much on the limit there, does decide to back out of that lap. We'll just see if Patrick Sipples did decide to back out of that one, and yes, he did. I'm not sure who's going to be next towards the line. I believe it's going to be one of the ADRT drivers. I believe that is Jan Halliday. Yes, it is. He's also invalidated his time. Nardi Perez just behind him. Will he abandon his lap? No, he's not. He's going to continue. Patrick Sippos goes fastest so far, 20.396. Nardi Perez will be the first man to set a respectable lap, 56 in Sector 2. I believe that was holding towards the stadium section, cut on the left, hopping on towards the right, on towards the curb once again. Final corner for Nardi Perez, rounding the final corner, up towards the line for Perez, and across the line, it's going to be a 15.289. That is a not bad lap at all, and that is a lap around Mexico.
Yeah, the drivers finding it quite a lot trickier than they did in the previous session to keep it clean with the laps this time around. Bogdan Moldovan goes into second. Andrew Karapi, he invalidated on his first run. We saw Georges Nader go all over the place. What about Thomas Harvey? What can he do? He goes fastest of everyone. 1:15.117 then. His first lap in our second qualifying session then, as Jack West seems to be having a few connection issues at the moment. Jake Finch, another driver who decided to back off on their lap. Sam McBride was supremely fast in the first session. 1:15.3 would have been the time on that occasion, but he did invalidate his lap, so nothing doing for him. And unsurprisingly, Sippos going quite a bit quicker on his second run. You can do this comfortably on the soft tyres, as he now makes his way back into the pit, so it's not surprising on such a short circuit that we're seeing drivers get multiple runs in. And that's the thing with this being a short track. If you really need to, you could probably get 4 separate qualifying slots in.
Yeah, definitely. So you can get 3, 4, maybe even 5 if you're being lucky. Is Gregorio Belatti first one into the 14.985 on the soft compound tyres. Jack West having a little bit of trouble, I think, on his connection wise. Keeps seeming to leave and reconnect and leaving again. Hopefully he can join back as quickly as possible. But yeah, you can definitely do a lot of runs in the first part of quali as well, with a lot of the guys on the medium compound tyres, just to get the laps in and perfectly. But yeah, obviously you can go for a few. Not really on the soft compound tyres. You want to save those as much as you can, but you can go for many runs on the mediums. Maybe not concurrently, but you can go for many runs just all the time around the track, which is what a few people are deciding to do. And Andrew Karapi, Tony Roche, Mohala Marquis, also Jan Halliday trying to do that strategy. Jordan Nader as well, just having some trouble with the track limits at the moment. Just really can't find that decent lap, obviously, on the medium compound tyre, so we will try for the softs later on. But right now, it is ADRT topping the timing sheets with a 14.985 with Gregorio Belatti on the soft compound tyres.
Yeah, not a bad lap at all from Belatti then. That first run on the softs. Thomas Harvey up there again. We've yet to see what Race Clutch can do, really, on their set of soft tyres. Mick Dvorak coming round the final corner would have been good enough to put him into third place. A bit like Georges Nader, though. He's just struggling at the moment to keep a valid lap time. As Ismail Fassi, that is more like it. He's definitely not hanging around on that set of the softs. 1:13.966, fastest of everyone. That time could be pretty close to getting him through to Q2, to be honest.
Yeah, definitely. Ismail Fassi, brilliant lap time there from him, 13.966. I think that probably will be enough. So to get it early on is really, really encouraging for FVR and for himself as well. So I believe that's making his debut today. I'm not 100% sure if he did make an appearance at China or not. But nevertheless, Fassi really putting it together this time around. Having a little moment on his outlap though. Have to keep the tyres fairly clean as best as you can. Obviously, PSGL F1 PlayStation runner-up earlier on, just losing out to Matthew Alder in the end. Very unfortunate. Went down to the last lap and just got it robbed away from him, unfortunately. But hopefully back onto PC for the next game and for the end of this game. Hopefully he can try and find a little bit more luck and definitely do well. He's one of the very, very talented driver is the Spaniard. So hopefully we do see a lot more of him. But yeah, that should be enough to get him through into Q2. And if not, it's probably going to be very, very close nevertheless. But I think Ismail Fassi will probably be very, very happy with the lap and probably won't see another appearance from him in Q1.
Yeah, you can definitely afford to just take it a bit easy. Maybe, he has gone out for the soft straight away, so possibly more saving a set of medium tyres for Q2 rather than saving soft tyres, which is normally what we see. Sam McBride's now going out on those set of the softs, and he looked exceptionally quick in that truncated first qualifying session. So he might be one to watch this time around. And Samuel Bean, he's actually going for a set of mediums on this lap. We're yet to see what himself or Sipos can do in this session. Patrick's now gone straight for that set of the soft tyres. So Samuel Bean making his way around turn number 4 and 5. We do see a lot of battling here in the races. You'll see a lot of drivers possibly getting forced wide. So maybe a few 3-second time penalties that the stewards are going to have to remove. And this S section that is coming up now, Josh, so tough to really just nail the lap. Drivers probably on their first runs just take it a bit easier to make sure you get a valid lap time, because we've seen Miklovic, we've seen Nadir. There's been tons of other drivers that have been validated, and I'm certain that's probably the part of the track that's causing them the most problems.
Yeah, absolutely. That's the main one where you can get a lot of your penalties and a lot of invalidations happen. You just have to be on the limit, but not too much on the limit, if that makes a little bit of sense. Samuel Bean, a little bit scruffy through Sector 3, having to really correct the car as much as he can. 14.7 though does put him into P2, so was a fairly good lap, nevertheless, of a few of a few mistakes, but Britain nevertheless has a 5-place grid penalty for illegal blocking for Samuel Bean. Not sure what that was about. Hopefully that doesn't happen again, as Patrick Sipos does beat him 13.745, and I'm sure Samuel Bean will not be happy with that one. Hopefully that randomer does leave as quickly as possible. But yeah, it's an interesting one there why Samuel Bean got a 5-place penalty. Hopefully, I'm not sure what happened there, but that is really going to haunt him for the race, and he's going to have to work a little bit harder to try and get up the field.
Yeah, I don't quote me on this, people, but I don't think he'll be able to get that removed either. I think he's going to have to, well, you know, wherever the game puts him after that penalty, that is where he's going to have to start from. And of course, if that 5-place grid penalty knocks him outside of the top 10 after originally qualifying in the top 10, he will still have to start on the same type of tyre that he used in Q2, but because we have a lobby restart between qualifying and the race, it's not exactly the same tyre, so you do get a fresher run. Nardi Perez now, he's making his way around through the final sector, making his first appearance for quite a while in this series. Failed to finish in his first 2 in Austria and in Imola. He'll be hoping for a bit more this time around. His teammates up in second at the moment, and Nardi joins him just behind, actually. I was about to say joins him on a 1:13, but he's on a 1:14.006 at the moment. So second and third for FVR. I'd say Sipos is probably safe on that time at the moment. Fassi and Perez might feel the need to go again, as now Georges Dada gets himself up into second place now that he's finally got a clean lap on the softs. 1:13.829 for the VSR man. I think you are going to need a 1:13 to get yourself through to this session. Jack West's disconnection and Caden's not going to be here is going to help the drivers, but it looks like it's going to be pretty close towards the top.
Yeah, definitely. So I think you're probably going to see top 4 maybe just safe. I think Nardi Perez might be wise just to stay out ever so slightly. That 14.006, that's either going to be absolutely on the limit, or that's just going to be not enough at the moment. But looking at it, it's probably going to be enough. Obviously, Jan Haladej, 14.051 for Fabrizio Donoso, 14.090. Who was that? I think just jumped out the last Drake Dempsey into the 39s. That's definitely probably going to be safe. I think you're probably going to see maybe, I think Fabrizio, Jan Haladej may have to go again. Nardi, as I said, may have to go again as well. It's definitely going to be a little bit of a cut-off as Grigori Belatti does invalidate his time. Harald Marquis, P8, 14.391. I think you're probably going to have to go again on that one, Mr. Marquis. But it's definitely going to be tight. But I reckon probably either a very low 14 or a high 13 or a 13 in general is probably going to see you into Q2.
Yeah, we're yet to see the best of Alfie Butcher, who's been a revelation so far this season. 3 races, has had a podium in every single one, which I think puts him tied for the most podiums any driver's had this series with Sipos, and I think we're just with Patrick Sipos at the moment, who has done quite a few more races. So it's been a superb job from Alfie Butcher. Still yet to set a time though in this session, so he's currently going to be heading out alongside Miklavchich, McBride and West, and obviously we know West's not going to set a time. We're waiting to see what McBride can do. And Miklavchich is on a lap at the moment, and he's invalidated again. He is really finding it very tough out there to keep it clean. And I think, as everyone saw on screen, and judging by the Discord, a few other drivers definitely spotted, may have cut the corner in qualifying. So that's probably a penalty coming WOR's way at some point.
Yeah, definitely. That is a no-no this race for cutting the corners or in any race, to be honest. Cutting the corners, you're not allowed to do that. But yeah, Miklovic not really finding the pace at the moment, but neither of the Parnell guys, obviously having a few issues with the connections, I think, which is unfortunate to see. And they're currently starting 18th and 19th. Miklovic really is going to have to find a lap out of this one now, alongside Jake Finch as well. Alfie Butcher currently 15th on that, 26.670. I believe he is on a lap at the moment, and he's currently purple, 4 seconds clear. Jake Finch, as I just said, puts it into P2, 30.801. Brilliant lap time there from him. Here comes Alfie Butcher through in towards the stadium section. I believe he might be backing out of this one, not quite sure, and I believe he is, and yes he is. Alfie Butcher does decide to back out of that one, so 4 minutes left to go in the session. It's getting a little bit of a tight squeeze for Alfie Butcher to get a good lap in and see himself into Q2. We haven't seen that a lot from Alfie Butcher since his debut. Patrick Sipos retires from the session, so he's fairly safe with his lap. That is on track, I believe, so that may be a penalty going to his own, not quite sure. But interesting there. But Alfie Butcher is really going to have to put his foot down now to try and get himself into Q2.
Yeah, Miklovic, Butcher and McBride, three pretty big names there that you would expect to be up there towards the top of the order. I mean, we've seen what Butcher can do on this platform and on Xbox. We've seen what McBride can do, and Miklovic was in PC Challengers this year and just missed out on getting that top 6 slot. So this is all you need to know about him. Fassi's retired from the session, Donoso heading out there. He's only 1 bit slower than Ismail Fassi, but that is 5 places at the moment, showing how close things are on a short track. Sipos Miklovic has definitely found some time, shoots himself up towards 2nd place, so he should be safe now in this session. And that knocks Bogdan Moldovan out in towards one of those lower places. And some of the drivers that are looking near the bubble at the moment, Gregory Balatti and Samuel Bean. Balatti's invalidated on this time, and Bean has just started his lap, and already, now that he's on a set of soft tyres, a 1/4 of a second up. So I'd imagine, as long as he doesn't invalidate, I'd imagine the Spaniard has got enough in hand to be safe in this session.
Yeah, it's probably going to be looking likely for Samuel Bain to get through into Q2. George Nader retires from the session, so he's fairly safe with his lap. I'm probably looking at it now with the time that's left. You're probably going to see maybe 14.3, 14.2 is probably going to be enough to see you into Q2. And Samuel Bean, purple, sector 2, 7/10 up at the moment. That 14.0 right now is not going to be pole. He's going to need another about a second to try and snatch pole position from his teammate Patrick Sipos. Round in the final corner comes Samuel Bain, and across the line with the Spaniard. What's it going to be? 13.783, and it was a 7. Puts him into P3 in the top 3, all on the 7s with Primoz Miklovic separating the race clutch drivers with that 1-2. But Samuel Bean cleanly safe into Q2, and that should be enough for the Spaniard to get himself up to Q2. I believe Bogdan Moldovan coming through sector 1 now, just under 4/10 up on his lap. He's going to have to go again, but right now it's looking good to just try and get into Q2 as well.
Yeah, Fabrizio Donoso had improved just a tiny bit there and ended up invalidating his lap. He's already done 2 laps on these softs, but as we've seen from Miklovic, you can get away with that. You can do multiple laps, and they are going to hold on in this session, so wouldn't count out the esports man just yet. Moldovan a second up on his personal best. He still needs to find a bit more if he wants to stay in this session, and big lock up, goes very deep in towards turn number 13 and 14, and that could be costly. That could well be the moment that costs Moldovan in this session. Does get himself up towards 14th in the end, but we've still got McBride yet to set a time, and you've still got Alfie Butcher down there as well. I'd presume that that lap is not going to be good enough to keep him nice and safe. We'll see what McBride's doing at the moment on his first valid lap in this session. 55.2 coming through sector 2. Alfie Butcher now coming through the final sector with half a minute to go in this session. So as long as he doesn't invalidate in this final corner, he could still get another lap in if he needs it. Butcher heads towards the line. 1:14.082 will be very interesting to see if he feels safe on that lap, as Sam McBride can only put it into 13th.
Yeah, unfortunate there for Sam McBride, and also Alfie Butcher should be safe with that lap nevertheless. I think Summer McBride probably will be safe as well, but it's going to be very, very tight. Tony Roche, Grigori Belatti and Bogdan Moldovan really need to set some lap times. Moldovan with an invalidation. Does he have time to the line is the question. No, he does not. So that is Bogdan Moldovan finishing no higher than 16th. Harlan Marquis up into 14th, just at the death. Andrew Karapi still on a lap. Tony Roche making his way through sector 2 as well. Grigori Belatti, I believe, is just in front in 18th. No, he's not. He's in... excuse me, he's invalidated as well, so he is out of qualifying. So it is going to be Tony Roche to just try and get himself out of Q2 for Shazoo. Round in the final corner now. What's it going to be for Roche? Round in the final corner. Is it going to be enough to get him into Q2? Across the line, it is, which does knock down Andrew Karapi, but has he kept his lap valid? Yes, he has, but he's only up by a couple of bits, but decides to abandon it, and so PSR are out of qualifying with Andrew Karapi 16th, Bogdan Moldovan 17th, Grigori Belatti in 18th, and Jack West with a disconnection could not get into the lobby in time, and Jack West will join them in the drop zone. But a very, very tense qualifying session, and Harlan Marquis just did enough to get through into Q2 there with Tony Roche 13th. Sam McBride did enough as well alongside Fabrizio Donoso and Alfie Butcher in the end, but that was very, very tight for a lot of those drivers out there.
Yeah, definitely. And I think what showed just how tight it was in that session, Karapi was up. He was doing enough at one point in that session. He was doing enough going into the final sector. In the end, unable to do anything. And it is Sipos fastest, Miklavcic second, being in third for 2 TF10 cars in 11th and 12th. I don't think they'll be too worried about that at the moment. Perhaps just making sure that they did enough in that session. And I mean, it's so incredibly close. You've got 5 drivers at the top of the standing, separated by less than a tenth of a second. Go down from 1st to 13th place is 4 tenths. We knew it was going to be a close qualifying session. I'm not sure we expected things to be quite that close. It is Sipos, Miklavcic and Bean, your top 5. And the drivers headed out, Karapi, Moldovan, Belatti and Jack West, who unfortunately disconnected from the session. He's going to be one to watch in the race. We saw last time out Alfie Butcher getting a podium, I think, from 17th on the grid. Don't count out Jack West just yet.
Definitely not. Jack West, definitely one of those drivers who can pull something out of the bag very, very quickly. But this top 5, fantastic to see. Separated by less than a tenth of a second. Sipos and Miklavcic separated by 5 thousandths of a second, with Bayan and Sipos 38 thousandths. Finch and Sipos 56, and George's Nader 84 thousandths as well. Jake Finch, really good to see him into the top 4. It's a brilliant lap time from him to get himself through up in towards the top 5 as well. Brilliant to see him that far up the field. But yeah, very, very interesting qualifying session there, and very, very decent from Race Clutch's point of view. And also with ETA for Jake Finch as well. Obviously unfortunate for Parnell as well with Jack West not able to get into the lobby, and also Sam McBride did just enough, but just didn't really have the pace near on. Obviously, it's very interesting how this track is there. Obviously, you've got to be very, very careful, but you've got to be really on the limit if you want to get a good lap time in the rounds. And I think maybe a few people taking it a little bit cautiously just to make sure they get into Q2. And I think TF10 and definitely Sam McBride did that today.
Yeah, I think realising they'd left it quite late, just doing enough in the end. It's all you need to do. There's nothing. You don't get any reward from being fastest in that session. You might as well get through in 15th place. Overtimes, of course, deleted as we head into the second part of qualifying, where don't be surprised, because we've seen it the last couple of races, don't be surprised if the times in this session are actually slightly slower than what we saw in the previous one, because now everyone's going to start to think, do I try to get through on that set of the medium tyres into the top 10? Because it's clear that the softs are a lot faster, judging by how close things are going to be in this session. I'm not sure anyone's going to manage it.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting. I think there are a few people going for the mediums early. That's Miklavcic, Bayan, Dempsey and Marquis on my screen so far, but a lot of drivers on the soft, so they may try a dummy run just to start and then go on to the mediums. So we may see the mediums in use a lot this session. So I think a lot of people maybe there is rain forecasted, which a few people have said. I think Thomas Harvey mentioned it in the chat. It's going to be interesting how it's going to play out. So maybe they're going to go as long as possible just to break the rain. And I wouldn't be surprised if a lot of people go for the P11 strategy just to make sure they get a free choice of tyres. So it's going to be interesting how it works out. But we'll have to wait and see as we head into Q2.
Yeah, we will have to see as things go in towards Q2. A few drivers heading out there, as we've already mentioned, on the mediums. Sipos going out quite early on the softs. We mentioned that this is what Race Coach did last time out at China, a track where I think we always do the mediums were going to be the tyres for Q2, and it didn't quite work out. Whether things work out for them or not this time, we'll wait and see, as they've got George Nader there, almost pushing him through the S's at Sector 2. He's also going for a set of the soft tyres. Now, this could well just be drivers pushing hard on the softs and then slowing down right at the end, or invalidating very early on in the lap, just so they get an idea of what their pace are on the set of the soft tyres. But then obviously it won't count for qualifying. But Nader is heading out then around the final corner to start a lap on the set of softs. We'll have to see if he backs off at the end. We'll have to see whether he invalidates either as he makes his way down now towards this. It's such an incredibly long straight. DRS so powerful around this circuit, and you get a double dose. So if you get the move done into turn 1, you've got the DRS to help you defend into turn 4 as well.
Yeah, definitely. So there's a few interesting moves you can do around here. There's a few overtaking spots you can do, mainly as you said, into sector 1 is going to be the main one as well. You obviously got the DRS to defend as well. George Nader, purple in sector 1 so far. He's the first one out on track, of course, taking a very good line through that double right-hander and in towards the trickiest part of the circuit, the few S's of sector 2, onto a left, onto a right, and onto another left, and onto another right, which just keeps going on forever and ever and ever. Very close to the limit there is George Nader, 55.135 on his soft run, rounding the stadium section now. Will he decide to come into the pit lane, or will he finish the lap rounding the final couple of corners for the Lebanese driver? George Nader across the line now. Does he keep it going? Yes, he will. Across the line for George Nader, 13.791. Not a bad soft run, to say the least, with Patrick Sipos in P2 on a 14.015.
Yeah, I think they've driven this track so many more times than I imagine either of us have done. They probably know that the medium tyres just aren't quite going to give them what they want to get through in this session. Meklavcic is going to try it, and that's not too bad of a one. A 1:14.950 on the set of mediums, but you don't need me to tell you. There's a great gaping chasm there for a lot of cars to fit into as Bean goes into 4th, Marquis into 5th place at the moment. Nardi Perez had invalidated his lap. Jake Finch coming around the final part of the lap. Looks like he's backed off, so whether he's going to go for another one or head into the pits, we'll have to see. The two WOR cars looking close at the moment. Dempsey and Meklavcic, 3rd and 4th, both on 1:14.9s with only 100th of a second between them. Nardi Perez, he invalidated on his first run, and he's now just heading around the S section on this occasion. We'll see whether he can keep it cleaner this time. FVR with what you've got to say is a very strong lineup tonight. Obviously, two drivers that are probably more known for their exploits on the PlayStation platform than they are on PC.
Yeah, excuse me, absolutely. So yeah, Ismail Fassi, one of the fastest men on PlayStation, but yeah, definitely a few guys. Tony Roche as well, very fast guy as well, alongside Ismail Fassi, who I know more about Ismail more than I do about Tony Roche, if I'm going to be perfectly honest. But I have heard a lot of good things about Tony Roche. I know he's a very fast driver as well, but we'll have to wait and see how he does in the race. Got enough for Q2. Hopefully he can get himself into Q3 as well. Running on board currently with the FER driver of Fassi, but just an invalidation, just going a little bit too much round that final corner, and that is going to be an invalidation, and it was going to be a 14.120, which would have put in P3 with a few drivers electing for the mediums. Drake Dempsey, Primoz Milikovic, Samuel Bain, and Harlan Marquis with, I believe that was Jake Finch, putting it into P2, 13.842. He's having a brilliant qualifying session so far. Is Jake Finch, been top 4 all the sessions so far, so he's looking really good for this Mexican Grand Prix, unless he's been practicing quite a bit. So we'll have to watch out for Jake Finch this lap, as Fassi will go for one more, and he's currently purple into sector 1.
Yeah, he is purple into sector 1. What worries me about Fassi though is you look at his battery. He's on about 16-17% at the moment. That's quite an ERS heavy track. There are some heavy braking zones, but you can see from the map there's an incredibly long straight. And now he's clipping. Now that red light is going to be flashing on the back of the car, and he's going to be losing all sorts of pace at this part of the circuit, and especially on acceleration out of some of these corners when you really need it. He's still pushing quite hard to get this lap in, and in the end he's pushing a bit too hard and just ends up invalidating that lap time. Sam McBride, another one who's invalidated as I think Jake Finch just backing off there rather than having a moment, thankfully, so he doesn't have to worry too much in second as things stand. It does look like, though, I thought at least one or two drivers would try the mediums towards the end of the session. It looks like everyone is going for the set of softs, so I think this is going to be the session where you need a 1 minute 13 to get through into the next part of qualifying. Maybe even a 13.7, 13.8.
Yeah, I reckon so. And obviously 13.7, 13.8 is probably good. Obviously Patrick Sipos probably thinks he's not safe enough. He's on an outlap on his 14.015, so he's thinking that's not going to be enough. Alfie is trying the mediums with a 14.759 again. Don't think that's going to be safe. Sam McBride on a lap at the moment on the softs. He's invalidated his time, unfortunately, for him. Jan Haladesh, yeah, everyone on the soft compound tyre. So I reckon probably Tony Richet, Patrick Sipos down. It's probably going to have to go again. I reckon the two VSR cars are probably going to have enough to get into Q3, but it's going to be interesting from here. But I do think, yeah, 13.7, 13.8 is probably going to be enough for Q3.
Yeah, Sam McBride diving it then into the pits. I think quite frustrated that he's had two invalid laps there, not even bothering with this pit lane speed limit like you can get away with, obviously, in this qualifying session. So it is today Harvey, Finch, Sipos, Richey, Butcher, Dempsey, Miklevchich, Bean, who are on board with at the moment, and Harlan Marquis. They've done the laps on their set of medium tyres, a few of them. The bottom, I believe it was the bottom 5 doing their laps on the set of the mediums, and that is a very good lap from Alfie Butcher on the mediums. I think he knows he's going to have to do things better. I believe Donoso has disconnected from the session, unfortunately, so very unlikely he'll be taking any further part in qualifying, so we'll have to see what the Chilean driver can do from down on 15th on the grid. We're going to follow Bean now round towards this S's section. Obviously, those tyres giving him the traction that he needs through the medium speed corners, and the front tyres giving him the purchase that he needs, giving him the responsiveness from the Alpine through this high-speed section. Very close to invalidating his lap time there. And straight away, 8 tenths of a second up. This could well be another driver getting into 13s as his teammate, there's a 1:13.603, Patrick Sipos, goes fastest of everyone as being just invalidates, coming through 13 and 14.
Yeah, I wonder if that was on purpose from Samuel Bean or not, just to get that invalidation. 13.8 in the end, which would have put him around P4, P5, I think maybe even P6. I'm not 100% sure what his lap was on the hundreds and thousands timing, but he will go again. But yeah, Patrick Sipos, brilliant lap there, 6.03 to put him on to pole position and to split those VSR cars. Obviously Jan Haladesh as well doing brilliantly to split the VSR cars, as I just said. But yeah, it's going to be very, very interesting. Obviously Primoz Miklevich at the moment making his way through sector 2, hugging those cars as best he can. A little bit of a wobble actually on his traction, but I think that's just my game having a little bit of a moment there. Sector 2, Primoz Miklevich purple, 9 cents up at the moment, currently looking on a 14.0, maybe the 13.9, right in the final couple of corners. Right now it's looking likely for P6. Can he improve anywhere in sector 3, right in the final corner? Very tidy lap so far from Miklevich. A little bit of a moment out of the final corner, across the line for Miklevich, and it is pole position. Look at that, Miklevich is on the ball here tonight, 13.554, and he's P2 in Q1. He currently finds himself pole position in Q2. He's really been on it so far as Miklevich.
Yeah, that's a fantastic lap time there. Maybe that's why Nadir went out again, clearly not feeling safe, as Ismail Fassi now does a 1:13.720. We're going to be seeing everyone head out, I think, for one more run on the set of the soft tyres. Harlan Marquis, he invalidated his first run on the set of softs. We'll see what his sector 1 time is. 7 tenths down, so he's backed off. He is leaving everything until the last minute. His teammate at the moment is in there in the top 10, but it is Miklevchich, Sipos, Nadir, your top 3, Bean, Marquis, as well as McBride, Donoso and Perez, who've yet to set a lap time, just outside of that top 10 at the moment. Now, yeah, some drivers that we might not, no disrespect, probably wouldn't expect to be quite as far up the grid as they are. Halliday and Finch are having a fantastic session at the moment. No reason why they can't get themselves in towards the top 10 and have a big say in this race.
No, definitely not. An ETA with the way they're going. Jake Finch may be on for a podium here. You never know, but we'll have to wait and see. They're having a brilliant session so far. Again with Tony Roche up in P8. He's having a brilliant debut alongside Fassi as well in P4. They're really having some good days today. Are the guys who are, well, yeah, as you said, no disrespect, not really seeing themselves as a Q3 driver, but it's brilliant to see them up in that top 10. Obviously, Alfie Butcher, we know is probably going to be up on the podium. I believe he's almost got a podium at every single race he's participated in so far. It's just been that brilliant so far this season. Obviously, coming in near the end of the season, I think he made his debut at Saudi Arabia, so he's only had a few races in the season and only a few races on PC, and he's been absolutely fantastic throughout the season and throughout his time on PC. So running the final corner now to start his final lap in qualifying. Miklovic retires in the pit lane. He's pretty happy with his lap, and that's probably going to be safe for Q3. Alfie Butcher running the final corner. He needs to improve as best as he can alongside Sam McBride. Fabrizio Donoso, if he can get himself back into the lobby, and Nardi Perez, who have yet to set lap times. They're really going to have to get the ball rolling here.
Yeah, they are. Perez, looked decent on his run so far. Maybe just a tenth or two off from what we saw from his teammate, and he might need to get within around that 10th of a second at the moment. I wouldn't be feeling comfortable if I was Halliday, Harvey and Finch on 1 minute 13s, and all of those drivers have headed out there on the circuits. Dede retires in the pits, as has Miklovic. Even Sipos is heading in there out onto the circuit again. I think just better to be safe than sorry, Sipos is thinking at the moment, in case we see a lot of improvements from a lot of these drivers. Butcher, so much grip from that front end there, coming through turn number 6. I've never seen anyone carry so much speed through that part of the corner and manage to stay so close. This could be a supreme lap time, and who knows, could be the fastest that anyone has managed in this session. Heads towards the line for sector 2 at the moment. 7/10 of a second up. It's about the improvements we've been seeing everyone do through the first couple of sectors. This is definitely going to get him there or thereabouts with the top 3 in this session, and should be enough for at least one, and probably the only TF10 driver, to get through to the final part of qualifying. Butcher towards the line. 13.496 from Alfie Butcher, fastest of everyone. That should be him comfortably safe.
I'll tell you what, I was looking at that lap, and that was absolutely fantastic. Excuse me, from Butcher. That was just absolutely fantastic. It was on point every single corner, not really breaking traction once, not locking up once, and that is probably what defines a perfect lap in this game. 13.496. That is fantastic from Butcher there. Brilliant to see him up onto the top step once again. That is going to be fairly safe for pole position. Brilliant to see him there. Nardi Perez around the final couple of corners, 55.2. Only 2/10 down on Butcher's sector 2 time. So let's see what we can do in sector 3. Currently last on the grid. Not set a lap time just yet. Round the final corner comes Nardi Perez. Is enough for Q3, sorry. So far it is. As who was that? Just crossing. I think that was Samuel Bain. Into P3 goes 13.580. Nardi Perez on the cusp here, and not going to go for one more as he has backed off on his second run. I don't think he was planning on doing a second run, but Drake Dempsey is really going to have to give it a go, and so is Sam McBride, who's currently on a lap, and I probably would bet that Sam McBride is probably going to get himself into Q3 if I do say so myself. So Nardi Perez for now is in Q3, but he might just get knocked down. 30.8 right now is the cutoff.
Yeah, it is. Halliday, he's invalidated on his lap, so he might be one of the drivers just nervously looking over his shoulder. Thomas Harvey's going to have to go for a second run in this final part of the session. Jake Finch is just about going to get around with enough time, as here comes Sam McBride then heading around the final corner. What's it going to be for him? He's left it right until the last minute here. Alfie Butcher heads towards the pits. Checkered flag is out. We know two of the drivers that will be headed out in this session will be Tony Ricci and Fabrizio Donoso. Will it be Marquis, Dempsey and McBride joining them? Or have they just got enough in hand to maybe spring a surprise towards the end of this session? Dempsey clearly pushing hard at the moment, and he's 7/10 of a second up. He's still going to have to find that bit more time, and I'd say at the moment he's on for about a 13.6, on for about a 13.6, 13.7, if he can keep it nice and clean through the final few corners for WOR man, who helped them to such a fantastic performance last time around across the line, and he's not made it. Drake Dempsey will be heading out in this session, so the only drivers that can improve at the moment are Harlan Marquis, who's invalidated, and Sam McBride. Oh, and he's off! McBride in the wall! And that is Q2 over.
Yeah, Sam McBride, I think that was maybe a purpose one there. McBride did invalidate and smashes into the wall, and Nardi Perez is just in by the skin of his teeth. That was very, very close. Drake Dempsey on an 8.67. That was so close. 200s in it, 21 thousandths in it between the two. That is oh so close, and Jake Finch doing well to get in as well, but so close between those guys, and a 13.846 was enough, excuse me, to get through into Q3. They're so close. Sam McBride just again not getting the luck in, as Fabrizio Donoso could not get back in the lobby as well, so he will start P15, but that is so close. And Drake Dempsey and Sam McBride are definitely going to be unhappy with that one. But as it stands, Alfie Butcher with a fantastic qualifying session there gets it on pole position. And by 58,000, and once again, the top four separated by less than a tenth of a second. Brilliant to see. But it is Alfie Butcher on pole position so far. Well, topping the time sheets in Q2.
Yeah, he's top of the timing seats in Q2. Miklavčič and Sipos second and third. As you can see, everyone needed a set of the soft tyres. Halliday and Finch as their first laps, proving to be good enough for both of them. And it is Drake Dempsey just missing out in that session. Marquis and Richie invalidated their final ones. We saw what happened to Sam McBride and Donoso again, unfortunately, towards the back of the grid because of connection issues. Great qualifying session from, obviously we expected, you know, VSR and Race Clutch. From what we've seen so far this season, we'd have expected them to be up there. FBR also getting both of their drivers into the top 10.
Yeah, brilliant showing from FER, 10th, and I think it was P6, I believe, for Ismail Fassi. That's a brilliant effort for FER. Brilliant to see them up there into Q3. We're not, again, no disrespect to them, we're not really used in Q3 spot, but they've done it now, and they've teams with FPR, VSR and Race Clutch getting all their drivers into Q3. Alfie Butcher goes alone for TF10, Primož Miklavčič goes alone for WOR, and Jake Finch goes alone for ET8, and also Jan Halliday goes alone for ADRT. So it's going to be a very tough one for those guys, but we'll have to wait and see. 12-minute shootout for pole here in Q3 at Mexico. Let's see what it has to offer.
Yeah, man. At the moment, what he's offering is not too much. Everyone quite happy to just stay in the pits for now. Just because you're outside of the top 10 does not mean things are over in this race. Obviously, they'll be able to start on the medium tyres if they wish to do so. All these in the top 10 had to use a set of the softs, and I think because it's such a short track, no one really rushing to head out onto the circuit straight away. But the first one who was going out there was the last man to sneak his way into this session. Nardi Perez, first driver there out on the circuit. I mean, Alfie Butcher's looking very good again. Race Clutch looking fast. What time are you going to predict, Josh, for pole position around here?
I'm not quite sure, to be honest. I think we saw that 4.96 from Alfie Butcher, so I reckon that is probably going to be enough. But I think I'm going to go with either a mid to low 14 for pole position. I'm going to say, I think probably going to be a low 4. It's going to be a pole position that time, but we'll have to wait and see. And obviously Nardi Perez wanted to get his first lap as early as possible out of the sector 2, so he's going to have to pull a very good lap in if he wants to try and qualify as best as he can for FBR. But a little bit more action in the pit lane now as VSR guys are out now alongside Ismail Fassi, the other FBR driver as well, alongside Primož Miklavčič and Jake Finch as well. But everyone else, even fairly a bit late, but Nardi Perez around in the final corner to start the first lap in Q3.
Yeah, he's going to be the first man to give this a real go in Q3. Might well be on a set of used soft tyres. What tyres we're going to see everyone on is depending on how many they used in the last qualifying session. This is really struggling with the rears there, coming through the final corner, just oversteering. That sends him wide, almost then understeering as well. So not the greatest start of the lap from Nardi Perez, but he has managed to keep it clean, and he will be, you'd imagine, the first driver to go for a run. Halliday and Bean choosing to stay in the pits for now, whether they only do one run in this session, whether they're going to head out later on. As you can see, Perez clearly not got those tyres where he'd want them to be at the moment. This is something we see a lot more in qualifying sessions like this, in ones where we have the restart between the qualifying and the race, because there's no Parc Ferme condition, so they can afford to go for that bit more of an extreme setup, which tends to be quite a lot more oversteery, but just that tiny bit quicker.
Yeah, absolutely, and you usually see those really skatey times and really skatey setups that these guys use in Q3. Obviously, no Parc Ferme, as we do have a restart in there, as Nardi Perez won't be the first one to set the first lap, as he has invalidated. I believe it's going to be either Patrick Sipos or Samuel Bain. It's going to be Samuel Bain to set the first lap here in Q3, rounding Sector 2 now, very perfectly taken. Actually, oh my goodness me, game having a little bit of an issue there. He does invalidate again, so not a lot of invalidations here. There's still quite a few, which is unfortunate to see. Who will be next is going to be Thomas Harvey. He's invalidated as well. Jan Hannadej is on an outlap, so it will be Georges Nader if he can keep his lap valid. A little bit very on the limit there. Georges Nader, brilliant lap time there, 55.018. That was quicker than Alfie Butcher's Sector 2 in Q2. And this could be a very good lap for Georges Nader to try and see himself on the top spot. Round in the final couple of corners comes Georges Nader. Round in the final corner, what can he do? Excuse me, in that McLaren across the line, 13.638. And that is not a bad banker in Q3. And that is going to be the time to beat for everyone else with 7 minutes and 30 seconds left to go in the session.
Yeah, he's the first man to get a clean lap in, and again, there are plenty of drivers struggling in the background. Fassi is going to get a clean one, but he's he's just taking it nice and steady at the moment. He's behind Mick Levchich, who'd invalidated, Finch had invalidated as well. We've got a prediction in the chat here as a 1 minute 13.2. I think anyone who gets on a 13.2 will be on pole position. I'm thinking it's probably going to be a 13.3 that will end up being good enough as Patrick Sipos heads towards the finish line and goes fastest of everyone on a 13.567 at the moment. Alfie Butcher follows in behind. He had him validated on that one. So they're clearly all pushing. We've had 5 minutes of this qualifying session already. We've only had 2 clean lap times so far. And that was from Sipos and Nader. Fassi went back into the pits. Marcus Towler, the easy 8 man, thinking it's going to be the TF10 driver Alfie Butcher that's going to end up getting the fastest time in this session. See what Thomas Harvey can do as he heads around the final corner again. Another car to be sliding around that final corner. The 14.069. That possibly was a lap on an older set of tyres.
Yeah, I think that's probably what it's going to be. As Jan Hannadej, 13.970 again. That might be on old tyres as well. We'll have to wait and see. Georges Nader comes into the pit lane. Primož Mitrovic once again having an invalidation. Jake Finch has kept his lap clean so far, but has just been caught ever so slightly in the traffic and the dirty air of Primož Mitrovic around the final corner, and Jake Finch does decide to abandon that one. Nardi Perez on an outlap at the moment, letting one of the race clutch guys go. I believe that is Samuel Bain. No, it's not. It's going to be Patrick Sipos, who has invalidated his second run. It's Malfassi in the pit lane, as also Alfie Butcher on his improvement lap invalidates as well. So right now, Patrick Sipos is only the top 4. Sipos, Nader, Hannadej and Harvey have kept their laps clean so far and got laps on the board. Everyone else have not really got a good lap in, and Nardi Perez, again, another one who hasn't got a good lap in. He's decided to bolt on a fresh set of the soft compound tyres, so he's probably only going to do the one, and it's a big spin there for Nardi Perez, hitting the curb awkwardly, and that is Nardi Perez having a spin at a turn 4, lucky to not lose his front wing. He did tap the wall ever so slightly, but no damage on that Alfa Romeo, and he's lucky to still be walking away from that one.
Yeah, definitely. It's, a big slide through there. Brilliant parallel parking job as well from Nardi Perez. But again, failing to get a clean money. And it's only Sipos, Bean and Nader who will be happy with their lap times, I think, at the moment. It's only them that can probably afford to just go all out in this final run without any repercussions. Mick Levchich, he's just heading back towards the pit lane very slowly after invalidating both of his runs again. Similar to what we saw earlier. Who knows whether he'll manage to pull it out the bag this time around in this session. The Sorrel WOR car, but we have got a race clutch 1-2, the SR35 with Jan Hannadej splitting the two McLarens at the moment, and with 4.5 minutes to go in this session, they are the only 5 drivers to have set a time, as Alfie Butcher, he's heading there onto the pit lane at the moment. He was fastest in the second part of qualifying. Can he go fastest in this final part, as now Nardi Perez has done a lap at least, so who knows, if we get a retirement, at least there might be some cars behind him, but a 25.6 far away from a clean, and far away, obviously, from a competitive.
He did go out fairly early, so he got a clean track, but just couldn't quite find the track. Well, the lap to do it in. He's going to try and go again on another set of the soft compound tires, unless he's going to pull in to go for another set of the softs. But everyone else now on their final runs. Jan Haladesh leads them out for Williams and for ADRT. So the final couple of runs in Q3 will now begin, and it's going to be Patrick Sipos so far on pole position on that 13.567. Couple of twos, couple of threes, couple of fours predicted for Q3 pole position time, but we'll have to wait and see. Sipos, if you want the old predictions, it's going to be at least a tenth to 3/10 of an improvement to try and get the predicted pole time, but we'll have to wait and see. But right now, I think probably the people who are going to go for that pole time is probably going to be either Butcher, Sipos, Bayan, Nader, or Harvey, I think.
Yeah, I think, unsurprisingly, it will be those three teams that have challenged for the championship that have had, to be honest, they've only had 4 pole positions between them so far. There's Butcher very close to invalidating coming out of turn 3. Parnell Racing have had 2 pole positions, yet to convert either of them into a win, and Addictos got one at the San Marino Grand Prix, where, of course, all the rain happened, and Lenny Pipinta was able to take a fairly comfortable victory in that race. Alfie Butcher, fastest of everyone through the first sector. He's doing a fantastic job at the moment, keeping it nice and clean for the first part of the lap. We'll see if he can do towards the end, because he's pushing quite hard. So if he invalidates at the end of this lap, or if he invalidates now, he has got enough time to get another run in and save that little bit of ERS. But again, he's leaving it quite late in this session, and he's only going to be able to get that 1 lap in to set a time. And this is where the drivers really make a name for themselves. This is where the drivers really start feeling the pressure, when it is all down to that final run in qualifying. But I tell you what, Jan Haladesh, he's a quarter of a second up coming through the first sector. Maybe, just maybe, we could see another ADRT pole position.
Yeah, Jan Haladesh has been brilliant all 3 qualifying sessions as well. Currently in P4, he's having a brilliant time so far is the Czech driver, but just an invalidation there on that left-hander. He does have time to go for one more if he wants it, but that sector 1 was looking really, really promising for him. Coming through that lap, Patrick Sipos is going to come towards the line with him. He's currently absolutely flying through sector 2, 54.7 sector 2. That is a brilliant sector 2 split. Currently a tenth and a bit up on his time so far. Rounding the final corner comes Patrick Sipos. Will this be a 4 or a 3? Rounding the final corner, his sector 3 is looking pretty decent as well. Final corner for the Hungarian, Sipos across the line. It's a 13.340. What a lap from the Alpine F1 Esports driver, Patrick Sipos. 13.340. What a lap from him as Primoz Miklovic joins him just on that front row with a 13.401. Brilliant lap time from him. He's been brilliant all qualifying session as well. But Patrick Sipos gets into the 13.3s and he gets in to the low 13.3s as Jake Finch invalidates. Who will be next is one of the VSR guys, Thomas Harvey. P3 13.606, 30609, sorry, is that lap time there. 90 Perez, that's Ismail Fassi, I believe, just starting his final run. Samuel Bain across the line now stays goes up to P3, sorry, with a 13.457 as Alfie Butcher once again goes up into P4, sorry, just did not get that lap enough in time. He's going to try and go for one more. I believe he is backed out of that one, not quite sure. My game is having a little bit of a funny moment, but I think he's going to go for one more. No, is he? I'm not quite sure. No, he's not. He's going to stay with that lap time P4 so far. But we have those final couple of laps in qualifying coming up now.
Yeah, we do. And Primoz Miklovic, I agree with someone in the chat here. He had a terrible final corner, and he's only 600ths off pole position. That lap would have been good enough as Haladesh shoots himself up into the top 5 for now. Then the ADRT man is in 5th place. George Nader is improving at the moment. Can he find enough time in the final sector to get onto the front row of the grid? He can indeed. It's 2nd place for the Lebanese driver, George Nader. 113.391 from him. Next across the line, Nardi Perez. He's invalidated his lap, so there's not going to be any improvements from him. Ismail Fassi just needs to set a time to beat his teammate and just needs to keep it nice and clean through the final couple of corners. What's it going to be for Fassi? He gets himself up into 5th place, just knocking Haladesh down. Finch, he's invalidated, so he comes back towards the pit lane. Thomas Harvey has backed off on this lap. Samuel Bean also backed off, and Alfie Butcher has as well, I think. So it is going to be Patrick Sipos who secures pole position for a race clutch And George Nader for the championship leaders VSR alongside him on that front row.
Yeah, brilliant that time there from Patrick Sipos and George Nader. They're brilliant to see, but probably the big winners in that qualifying session is Primoz Miklovic and Samuel Bain, starting on that second row, as I was speaking about earlier on at the start in Q1. You better be probably best on the second row than on the front row, but we're going to have to wait and see into turn one. But what a lap from Patrick Sipos there, 13.340. George Nader also joining him in the threes with a 3.91. That is just fantastic to see. Miklovic so unfortunate to not get into the threes there on that 4.01, but it's going to be Patrick Sipos on pole position and doing brilliantly for Race Clutch to get them up the table, and it is going to be pole position for Patrick Sipos at the Mexican Grand Prix by 51 thousandths to George Nader.
Yeah, it is the third pole position of the season then for Race Clutch. Can they convert it into a victory? Can they convert it into the championship lead? It's going to be tough with George Nader alongside them on the front row of the grid. Primoz Miklovic with a fantastic qualifying, but what could have been for him, I think definitely if it wasn't for that mistake in the final couple of corners, would have been on pole. Being in fourth place, Fassi in fifth on his debut. Alfie Butcher could only manage to get sixth position. Then Halliday seventh, Thomas Harvey in eighth, just over a quarter of a second off pole position. We didn't see any sort of representative lap time from Nardi Perez. We didn't see any lap time at all from Jake Finch. He will be starting 10th in this Grand Prix, and there's so much to play for. 36 laps coming right up for you after this short break from our sponsors, GT Omega. Yes, a fantastic qualifying there from Patrick Sipos. Secures pole position for the Race Clutch driver. His team's third and his first of the season. George Nader alongside him. And as we mentioned just before the end of qualifying, I imagine Miklovic, he'll be a bit annoyed, obviously, that he failed to get pole position in the end, but still a fantastic lap time too to finish in third.
Yeah, absolutely. Miklovic doing the job, getting the job done, and obviously on that second row, which is really crucial around here at Mexico. You want to try and be on the second row as much as you can just to get that slipstream into turn one. So he's done a very good job there to get into that P3, but yeah, and again, just unlucky to not get into the threes there, but a brilliant lap time from him nevertheless. And he's definitely going to try and do the best he can in the race, and definitely for WOL to try and get another podium just to scrape them off that bottom few rows. But yeah, it's going to be a very interesting race, and obviously Patrick Sipos, the fantastic race, well, fantastic lap from him to get up into pole position 3.46, I believe it was, if my mind was correct. I think someone reminded me in the esports time was a 2.75 by Freddie Rasmussen, so he was very close to that time. So that is brilliant to see. And he may be just going to try and go here from pole position. We never know. And Race Clutch may just be back in this title fight.
Yeah, I mean, obviously there's a long way to go in this race. We've still got 36 laps, and we won't be too far before we are joining you for that. But looking at the gaps, looking at the points scenario at the moment, I believe I'm just going to have to do some very quick maths here between how they finished in that qualifying session and how things are in the standings at the moment. If they finish as they start, Race Clutch are going to get the championship lead, but we know that is probably very unlikely. And also, there's still all those drivers outside the top 10 on a set of the medium tyres that we're probably going to have to watch out for.
Yeah, definitely. So a lot of the guys on the alternate strategy, of course, Sam McBride looking to try and go for the alternate strategy again. Also Drake Dempsey, he was looking very quick in quality, just couldn't quite get that lap in Q2. So hopefully those alternate runners will be having a little bit of a look for Q3, well, for the race, just to see where they can finish off. But we'll have to wait and see what happens. A few people will definitely, I think most of the grid out of the top 10 will try and go for the alternate strategy onto the medium compound size, but we'll have to wait and see and how the strategy plays out. Obviously Mexico can cause a few surprises. We have a few threats of rain in the chat, but I think Thomas Harvey scared us with a little bit with that. Hopefully the driver's sake there won't be any rain, but I think it does spice it up a little bit for everyone watching at home, but we'll have to wait and see how the weather plays out. And once again, when it rains in Mexico, it usually absolutely chucks it down.
Yeah, from what we're hearing, the rain's going to come very late towards the end of the race, if we do get any, so maybe if there's a safety car, then that will be something that the drivers will be thinking of all of a sudden, and just having to worry about the rain. Some other drivers I think will be expecting to do great performances from far back. For two who obviously had connection issues, if they can stay in the session, Donoso starting down in 15th and Jack West starting down in 19th, you'd be surprised if they don't work their way up into the points, and who knows, it might be another TF10 driver starting from a long way down on the grid getting onto the podium.
Absolutely, Parnell can definitely do the business here. Also, Fabrizio Donoso obviously starting in P15. That is a massive blow for TF10 in their title aspirations. They're really going to have to hope Alfie Butcher pulls something out of the bag there to get a good result. But obviously, a few unfortunate issues here for disconnection issues. So hopefully, he can try and pull something out of the bag. Same also with Jack West, obviously starting at the back of the field as well. Hopefully he can try and get into the points, maybe even higher. We never know. Obviously the caliber of Jack West is just absolutely fantastic. We know how quick he is on one lap, and also in the race pace, obviously with that P2 at Imola. We know how good he is in the wets as well, so when the wets do come, we never know. So we'll have to hope for the best, and we'll have to wait and see how this race is going to go, and I think it's going to be an absolutely fantastic one.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, he's got their highest results so far this season. If he manages to beat that highest result, he's going to have pulled off one of the greatest things I think in league racing history, managing to get from last to first. We're hearing here that Sipos would have been second in esports with that time, and Miklavčič would have been sixth. Fair point from Jeffrey Ritchie that, you know, the drivers have had a lot more time to practice, but I think that just shows the calibre of the drivers in this field, that they are managing to pull these laps out when it really matters.
Absolutely, and you really have to be. Obviously, all of these guys are looking to be in esports one day. Obviously, Samuel Bain just joined Race Clutch, obviously now with the Alpine Academy, so maybe there might be a seat for him. Probably maybe not this year, but maybe the next year. We never know. Obviously, a lot of these guys, again, with the challenges as well, Primož Miklavčič just couldn't quite get through. A lot of these guys looking to try and go, and even for the future, obviously, Alfie Butcher not quite old enough for the challenges. Ismail Fassi can do well. Georges Nader, a lot of these guys, obviously, almost a whole grid can definitely get in to esports, and obviously some are already. Obviously Fabrizio Donoso, we know his caliber, obviously just joined Ferrari, a brilliant team. I'm going to be paired up with Brendan Lee, I think, next year. Obviously again, Patrick Sipos can definitely do well with Alpine once again, so it's just that caliber of driver that we have here, and all these drivers can definitely get and work their way into esports in the not so distant future. It's fantastic to see how close they are to the actual real fast guys.
Yeah, I think obviously some of them we saw in challenges, some of them I'm sure in the future we'll be seeing at Pro Exhibition and everything like that, and it's a good point from Jeffrey. It's whoever can adapt fastest to F1 2022, because we're expecting handling model to be so much different on that. I mean, we saw, even with the slight difference between 2018 and 2019, the effect it had on Brendan Lee, who went from all dominating to struggling on 2019. And has only now just started to show his best. Shouldn't be too long. We did have all 19 drivers in the session, but I believe someone has unfortunately had to leave the lobby, so they'll just be getting the grid ready now. And I think Samuel Beans actually had his grid penalty removed. That was reported and dealt with the stewards very quickly, so bravo for that one. And that's a big boost from him. Starting in 4th place, obviously so much nicer from starting in 9th. And as you've already mentioned, it gives you that opportunity to lead towards the first corner.
Absolutely. So obviously that 5th place penalty was a bit of a rubbish decision by the game there. Not sure why he gave it, just trying to slow down. And I think the Shazoo driver, I'm not sure who it was, just got in the way exiting the pit lane and gave Samuel that 5 place penalty. So thankfully that's been removed by our good stewards at TGC. So That was sorted nice and quickly, so he'll be starting P4. Definitely have the benefit of that slipstream from either Patrick Sipos or whoever started P2. I can't really remember now. It feels like it was 5 seconds ago, and I've already forgotten who it was in P2. But I'll have to wait and see how everything lines up. And I think Jack West is really struggling with a few issues on his side, so hopefully he can join as quickly as he can. But it's going to be a few more seconds and we'll get to join the Mexico Grand Prix.
Yeah, I think, unfortunately, Jack's having a lot of issues, and I do worry that he won't be able to take part in this race, unfortunately, so going to have to wait and see how things are going. Oh, God, I think someone else is leaving the session. There's all sorts of issues going on here. It is going to be George Nadir starting in second place, and we're going to get to see another Race Clutch VSR battle. What do we reckon Alfie Butcher can do? Starting from, I think, 6th place on the grid, not as high up as he's been, but we've seen his race pace is supreme, and he set some fantastic times, obviously being fastest in Q2, which I think was, just only a couple of attempts off the times that we did see in that final qualifying session. Might have even been quicker than the time he managed to set in Q3. It's sort of getting to that point for TF10 that it's now or never. If they don't outscore VSR or Race Clutch in this race, they're going to be 40 plus points behind going into the final couple of races, and that is going to be tough for them to close.
Absolutely, this is going to be the race now for TF10 that defines if they're going to be in a championship fight or not. They're really going to have to pull something out the bag today if they want to try and go into USA with the result. Hopefully, they can try and do it today. Obviously, with their caliber of drive, with the roster they've chosen today for Fabrizio Donoso and Alfie Butcher, they can definitely do it very, very well. For Donoso starting in P15, it's going to be a very, very big challenge, but obviously there's a lot of overtaking opportunities in Mexico, so there's still a lot of opportunities to try and do well, so we'll have to wait and see how it goes. So it's definitely, everything is possible, but Alfie Butcher obviously starting from P6. Obviously, we haven't seen him that low before in Q3, so we'll have to wait and see how he does. I think he's probably going to have to really, really push at the start to just try and get through all the melee. So hopefully, maybe for his sake, there's a little bit of carnage into Turn 1 and can pick up a position or two in the race. So we'll have to wait and see, but definitely can mind his way up the field. Obviously, we've seen how quick he's been on Xbox and definitely almost dominating the Xbox scene in WOR. Obviously, just unfortunate how it played out near the midway of the season with a few DNFs on his side, but we know the caliber of driver that he is, and we've seen his absolutely amazing performances on PC already on his short career on PC, so he can definitely do very, very well in this race, and I wonder if he can just try and maybe snatch a podium position, maybe even a race win.
Yeah, I mean, who knows? But we're sort of at that point of the season now where we know already which 3 teams are going to be, I think, taking this inaugural crown. If Parnell or someone else managed to do it, then we've had a ridiculous final few races. So some of those drivers at the teams that haven't quite had the greatest of seasons so far can just go for a bit more, can just fight with a tiny bit more of freedom, which is always nice to see, and that's something that these championship contenders are going to have to deal with. There's drivers now who might have it in the mindset of, well, they've got something else to fight for. I haven't, so I can afford to just go for the sends into some of these corners because they've got to be a bit more careful.
Absolutely, obviously, when it comes down to near the end, obviously the likes of ETA, FVR, PSR, WOR, all these guys, they couldn't really care less about who wins the championship. They're fighting for their own positions and they really want to fight as hard as they can. So obviously they're going to go for that dive down the inside. They're going to try it around the outside as best they can. Obviously they're going to try and be careful for themselves to not ruin their races, but we'll have to wait and see how it plans out. Obviously I'm saying wait and see. It's way too many times. I do apologise, but yeah, we're going to have to just see how it plans out, and I'm saying that again, but yeah, it's going to be very, very interesting. But as I said, yeah, not a lot of these guys who are maybe mathematically not fighting for the title won't really care how they approach the race and how they defend. They're just going to try and finish as high as possible as they can and just see how many points they can rack up and go from there with the points how they're going to go. So about to go into the race now. 36 laps upon us at Mexico. There are a few threats of rain, so that's always going to spark a little bit of a conversation, but we're about to get ready for the Mexican Grand Prix at round 8 of the Global Championship.
Yeah, I think if we do get any rain, it will be right towards the end of the race. And whether it comes early enough without a safety car, I think it's impossible for it to come early enough unless there's a safety car. So we might need that. We're probably going to see more, your more normal dry strategies. And talking of drivers and teams that might be able to go for things a bit more, WOR last time out scored more points than any team other than the VSR, and they've got Drake Dempsey starting in 11th place, the the bonus pole position, almost a booby prize on the F1 game, getting that free choice of tyres, and Primoz Mikhlovic starting in 3rd place. So what will he be able to do on that set of the soft tyres? What will he be able to do on that slipstream running down towards turn number 1 at the Mexico City circuit? First used in 1963, and apart from the final corner, there's not been too many changes since then. 10 turns to the right and 7 to the left. It is always a tough and challenging circuit where slipstreaming is absolutely crucial. As we wait for the game to load and we take a look at what tyres everyone has gone for in this session, and a bit of a mix outside of the top 10 of soft and mediums.
Yeah, only Andrew Karapi on the softs in the bottom 11. That's quite interesting, unless he's going to try and go for it, or that might have been a mistake on him, just didn't really realise the time. But Andrew Karapi going quite aggressive starting off with, so he's going to try and push as hard as he can on the soft compound tyres. He's got Fabrizio Donoso in front of him and Bogdan Moldovan behind him, with Jack West also trying to look for it in the mix in P19. It's going to be very, very interesting. But obviously the top 10 all on soft compounder tyres, as they did qualify in Q2. So that's always going to pull a little bit of a night. Everyone on the soft compound tyres. Patrick Sipos will lead them away with Georges Nader in P2. Primoz Mikhlovic in P3 and Samuel Bean P4. Really, really watch out for Mikhlovic and Bain in this race to make sure, well, where they will finish into turn 1, and will they try and go for that move, or will they try and go for it? I definitely think Mikhlovic maybe will go into this as the leader into turn 1. Obviously, Samuel Bain maybe a little bit more cautious. Obviously, Patrick Sipos leading the way on pole position. He's going to be a little bit more cautious to see how this plays out, but definitely he's going to be trying to tuck in Mikhlovic and Nader into turn 1. But Sipos into the stadium section and round the final corner to line up on his grid spot, and we're about to get ready for the Mexican Grand Prix, round 8 of the season. 3 rounds left to go, and the title is really heating up between Race Clutch, VSR and TF10 for the final 3 rounds.
Yeah, Race Clutch on pole position then, and with Samuel Bean in 4th place as well. Sipos on that pole. VSR have got Nadir in 2nd, Harvey in 8th, and TF10 have got a bit of work to do with Alfie Butcher in 6th, and what can, you'd arguably say, the most successful man in the field, Fabrizio Donoso, former esports runner-up, down in 15th on the grid. Can he make some moves on the medium tyres? Got involved in an incident towards the end of the race in China when he was fighting his way through up the field and didn't score any points there. Sipos with the view you normally say everyone wants around here, but it is a long run down towards the first corner. We've got 5 lights. They go out and we're on the way for the Mexican Grand Prix, and straight away Sipos getting a decent start there, but Nader nearly able to get alongside him, and that might just cost him getting the slipstream towards turn number 1. It's going to be Sipos on the inside, Nader on the outside, and Mikhlovic trying to see if there's a gap between them, and there isn't, so it is still Sipos, Nader, both of them going pretty deep there. Fassi and Bean having a battle in the background, and Samuel Beans had to go over the grass there towards the first corner. He's dropping a long way down the field. He's down into 13th, 14th, 15th place on his soft tyres. But his mission, he just kept hold of that qualifying penalty now as Drake Dempsey and Nardi Perez are battling their way as we come to the end of the first sector. And that's allowed Tony Vici and Harlan Marquis to make some moves. A decent start then from Patrick Sipos. He keeps the lead of this race, and it is Nader, Mikhlovic, Fassi and Haladej. Now your top 5.
Very decent start there from Sipos, and obviously Fassi picking up a few pieces, trying to battle with Samuel Bean, who now finds himself at the back of the field. It's been a terrible start for Bean. I wonder if he has any damage on that Alpine. Doesn't look like there's any as they go 3 wide. The battle for 16th, Balati, McBride and Perez, and that's very, very tight between the two of them. Brilliant to see that early. Jack West up a load of positions. He finds himself up into P14, battling with Bogdan Moldovan. Sipos fast up at the Grand Prix and finds himself 9/10 clear of Georges Nader. Patrick Sipos doing brilliantly so far to try and pick up his first win of the season, with Ismail Fassi doing well on debut in P4, trying to battle with Primoz Mikhlovic. Thomas Harvey just a second back on Jan Haladej, as the bottom 4 of Perez, Butcher, Donoso and Bayan all come into the pit lane, and TF10, and that may be both of the drivers into the pit lane. That may be a farewell to their championship aspirations with damage early on, and that is so unfortunate for them, and that might be the end of their championship days going into the next few rounds. Race Clutch versus VS Star is probably looking like the more tasty fixture going into the next two rounds at USA in Brazil.
Yeah, and of course, Race Clutch, they've now only got one of their drivers up there in Sipos. They've got Nader in second and Harvey in sixth behind them for VSR. So VSR, as things stand, would get one more point. So if Nader can take this race victory ahead of Sipos, that would be a big statement, and just possibly put VSR really with one hand on the inaugural TGC title. I wouldn't write off Butcher and Donoso yet. There's always the possibility of the safety car, and you can make the two-stop strategy work around this circuit more than the others. They've gone for the medium, so they are still sticking to something a bit more conventional, as we see a swap around of the two Shizou drivers. DRS will be activated next time around for the first time, and it's side by side here, Krappe and Richie, and it looks like Andrew Krappe is going to go for a move on Harlan Marquis as well as he down the inside in towards turn number one. Very nicely done from the driver, the only driver outside the top 10 to start on a set of soft tyres. He's gained a few places because of all the shenanigans what have happened, but ninth place for Andrew, very good indeed, and if he can get onto the back of Drake Dempsey, he could still get himself some decent points for the Haas team.
Absolutely, Andrew Krappe has had a fantastic start from 16th on the grid, and he's found himself really in a load of positions. How much has he gained is the question. I just want to have a look how much he's gained. He's already gained 7 positions off the start. Also, Jack West doing very well up into P12, and a few issues on my side once again with Fassi apparently going off track into the wall. That was not the case on my side. He's also gained a few positions, one up for him. Haladesh doing well up into P5 alongside more others. Moldovan up 4, obviously Butcher down 10, Perez down 8, Samuel Bain down 14, and Fabrizio Donoso down 4. So it's been a terrible start for TF10 and Samuel Bain and also Nadi Perez, but they're just going to have to keep going with this now and hope that the penalties maybe help them, and hopefully maybe a late safety car as a switch around for P2. There goes Primoz Miklovic down the inside of George's Nader, getting the job done, and Miklovic finds himself into P1 and helping Race Clutch to try and get as much points as possible to try and overtake VSR on the points tallies.
Yeah, and he's actually, Miklovic there, nearly dropped outside of that all-important 1 second window of Patrick Sipos. I was going to say, it's good news for Perez and Bean that they are together on circuit. They can work together. We know how powerful the DRS is around here. There's 3 DRS zones, one down the main straight, one down the straight coming out of turn 3, and one on the straight. We're just seeing the leaders starting to approach now, and Miklovic has used a lot of his DRS, and that might not be the worst thing in the world. Whether that's going to help him when it comes to time to attack, we'll wait and see. The top 7 all sort of in this one train, but behind them things very spread out, and that's probably not what Drake Dempsey, who we're on board with now, wanted to see. He's 2.3 seconds off the back of Jake Finch, and we'll just keep an eye on how much time he's going to lose. Coming out of the final corner and coming onto the start-finish straight, where they're going to have the slipstream, where they're going to have the DRS. He's 2.5 behind Finch as he crosses the start-finish line. DRS gets activated, the slipstream gets activated, and you can just see that gap getting bigger and bigger and bigger. And as he heads towards the braking zone of turn number 1, he's about 2.93 seconds behind. So you lose half a second if you're not in DRS just down that one straight. It's going to be hard for those drivers on the alternate strategy now. Now that they've dropped back from the front lot, I think it is going to be tough for them to get... They'll still get points, but to get any decent result and possibly get a podium.
Yeah, definitely. It's just like a bit of cycling, if you get. So you just get those 2 groups who just try and push for each other. As just down the back straight there goes Tony Roche and Jack West having a little bit of a battle. West trying it around the outside, not going to happen. Tony Roche says, no, you don't. In the 2 sister Red Bulls, obviously Jack West in the Alpha Tauri and Tony Roche in the Red Bull, really having it out for each other this early on the race. After lap 5, hopping towards the right for Roche, hop on the left for Jack West. DRS in use, but for the both of them trying to use the DRS. Jack West has been a great Grand Prix so far from P12, currently battling away with P11 with Harm Marquis just up the road for the points, in towards the left, up towards the stadium section for Jack West, round the final corner. comes the 2. A little bit of a moment for both of them to try and get onto the throttle as best they can. But look at Jack West CRS. He's been using quite a bit as Georges Nader and Ismail Fassi battling away for 3rd and 4th. There goes Fassi down the inside of turn 2. Georges Nader says, no, you don't. He's going to have to wait a little while longer. And so I believe will Jack West in his battle for P11. He's going to have to wait a little while longer once again. And it's all going to be a little bit tasty here on in, but Ismail Fassi having a brilliant Grand Prix qualifying debut and is looking likely to maybe even try and snatch a podium here.
Yeah, he came close to even getting 2nd place there. Mikhlovic and Nader and Fassi nearly ended up going 3 wide as Jack West and Tony Richet are still having in this battle. Down the inside goes West. Will the Shizou man be able to get a better exit? He will not, so that is 11th place for West and 12th place for Richet, and they've got Moldovan and McBride not too far behind them as well. On board with Jake Finch. He's at the back of this train at the moment. He's got Thomas Harvey just ahead of him. And these are going to be the drivers. You'd think if anyone's going to go for the undercut, it's going to be one of these that are just stuck in this train and not able to make the overtakes work. I'm surprised that Ismail Fassi was able to get as close to overtaking Georges Nader as he did on the previous lap.
Absolutely. We're going to have a look how it plays out this time around. Fassi just using a little bit of VRS, not going to try and get close enough, but meanwhile Mikhlovic and Nader have really closed up to the back of Sipos here, and they're really going to be trying to challenge him for this one. Sipos coming a little bit wide. There goes Jack West on Harlan Marquis, easy as you like, and Jack West finds himself in the points. 3-second time penalty for Alfie Butcher to make TF10's day a little bit worse as Sam McBride and Bogdan Moldovan all battling away for 13th, and it goes to Sam McBride this time around. But further up the field, this battle for P1 ranging all the way down from 1st all the way down to 7th, with Jake Finch just waiting in the wings for something to happen to make their way into Sector 2. It's getting a little bit tasty, and I wonder if Primož Mikhlovic may try have a go for this one here. He's got quite a lot of VRS to play around with to be, well, compared to Patrick Sipos. It's just a question if he can try and get close enough in the back straight. You want to try maybe around 5/4 tenths to try and get close enough. There's a little bit battle. That's Sam McBride having a little bit of a spin there, and he's lost the car. I'm not sure if there's contact between the two, but that's Sam McBride down in 15th, having not a great day at all for Parnell as they make their way on to lap 8. Ismail Fassi close to Georges Nader. Georges Nader close to Mikhlovic. Is Mikhlovic close enough to Sipos is the question. Not quite sure if he's close enough this time around, and no, he's not. 7 tenths it was, and he's got about to 3 tenths, so maybe you want about 4 tenths of it out of the final corner if you want to try and maybe a move as Fabrizio Donoso as closing in as Sam McBride gets a 3-second time penalty, and I believe that is Fabrizio Donoso also having a spin there as well. Been a torrid, then he's actually lost the whole of his front wing, and that might be the end of Fabrizio Donoso's race. It's just been so unfortunate for these guys today in TF10. Definitely going to have to go back and hope for what they can try and achieve for USA, and I think that might be the end for their championship aspirations.
Yeah, I think Donoso apparently is having quite severe desync with a lot of the other drivers as well, so I won't be surprised to see him retire from the race soon, but the decision has been made to carry on. It seems to only be affecting 1 or 2 cars at the moment, thankfully. I know Josh has had the odd little issues with cars jumping around, but we don't seem to have seen anything too untoward on stream at the moment. We've got Jan Halliday on board with him at the moment. He's sort of in 5th place. He's having a massive slide though, coming through the final corner there, and will that give Thomas Harvey a chance to attack down the straight? He's used a lot less ERS than the Williams driver up ahead of him, about 30% less at the moment, so that is not going too badly for him as Andrew Karapi, off his fresh set of the soft tyres, comes into the pits.
That is quite interesting, unless Karapi may be going for that 2-stop on to a soft, medium, soft. That's fairly early on the soft compound tyres. A lot of these guys in the top 7 have yet to pull the trigger off their soft. So Andrew Karapi, the first one to pull the trigger off the soft compound tyres, onto the medium he goes. I wonder if he's going to try and go for a 2-stop, unless he can try and carry those mediums to the end. I've seen it in another league race. Someone pit early, and they've done quite well. Obviously, safety cars did help, but they're going to have to go a little while longer. But it's definitely going to be interesting how it plays out, as these top 7 still yet to pull the trigger. But it's definitely going to be interesting if any of these guys pull the trigger now. And I wonder if they're just getting told that Karapi did pit Here comes Patrick Sipos out of the final corner. Does he try and come to the pit lane? Right in the final corner, he comes. Patrick Sipos stays out. Miklovic stays out. Nader stays out. Fassi, Haladej, Harvey, and Finch, they all stay out for one more. So, interesting that Karapi pitted that early, but maybe he's going to try and go for a two-step.
Yeah, maybe he is just trying something a bit different here. Fassi was the closest to making any overtakes there, but still just can't quite get close enough to Georges Dadair coming out the final corner to get anything done. And it looks like Miklovic, who you'd imagine would be in the prime position to make some moves at the moment, he's always 6 or 7 tenths behind. He's always just that couple of tenths too far, whether Sipos is being very clever with where he's using his traction, where he's using that electrical energy. You don't only have the battery, you can see that. You can see the different bars on stream. You're limited to how much you're allowed to use per lap as well, so there's always that little consideration about how much overtake you use. It is one of the circuits where if you're a bit careless with your ERS usage, you can just run out before the end of the lap, as Georges Dadair really all over the back of Primoz Miklovic, coming through the S's and just loses it out so much in the dirty air. Turn number 12 is not a corner you're going to see any overtakes happening in, I don't think, unless we get some wild differences with the tyre life at the end of the race, and you never know. We could well see some surprises being pulled off. Just checking my lap time for Karapi at the moment. He's 31 seconds behind our leaders. He'll be more thinking about Drake Dempsey and some of those a bit further back on this train as they all decide to stay out again. And once again, Ismail Fassi is incredibly close to the back of Georges Dadair. I feel that in free air, Fassi would definitely be the faster of those two cars at the moment.
I definitely think so as well. I think, obviously, Fassi just tries and maybe puts his foot down a little bit more and just try and get close up to Georges Nader. He can definitely be in contention to try and win this race, but just is the question. He's not quite close enough to try and make the moves. Meanwhile, Primoz Miklovic has just been stuck behind that Alpine this whole time. He's been really close so far. Has he been to try and lead in this race? Obviously, Miklovic has been fantastic this season so far, and obviously he's been fantastic in here today. So I wonder if he's in contention to this race. But yeah, as you said, probably the fastest men so far on track is probably going to be Miklovic and Fassi trying to battle away. I think if Fassi clears Georges Nader, then he can definitely get up close to Miklovic and maybe just try and ride with him for a little bit if he can, but just a question if he's close enough. And obviously Georges Nader getting carried by the DRS off Miklovic is definitely going to be a tough order for Fassi just to try and get this overtake done, unless he may try for an undercut a little bit earlier than Nader.
Yeah, might do. And someone who is doing it, though, is Thomas Harvey. He's into the pit, still with quite a high amount of ERS usage, so surprised he didn't burn more up on that lap if he was planning on coming in towards the pit lane. Medium tyres are going on to the McLaren driver, and he should come out behind, well, actually, he might come out ahead of Gregory Balatti here. It could be pretty close. He'll be well ahead of Andrew Karapi. He feels so slow down the pit lane here. And you're just going to see Balatti in the background. He is going to end up still being behind Thomas Harvey, who is in 12th place at the moment. He's gone for that undercut, and that's going to be the trigger point. We're now going to see a lot more of these lead cars coming to the pits on this lap. And who knows, maybe Thomas Harvey, he was down in 6th place. Gaining 1 or 2 places from this undercut should definitely be possible. I think gaining any more depends on where the other drivers decide to react now, or just decide to stay out that bit longer to have the fresher tyres later on. But I think if they drop outside the DRS range, they're going to be in big trouble for this race.
Yeah, definitely. So it's crucial that you stay in the DRS as best as you can. Otherwise, you just lose so much of your time, as Georges Nader having a little bit of an interesting moment out of the final couple of corners, just a little bit of a slide, and there goes Patrick Sipos and Primoz Miklovic pulling the trigger early, so they pull into the pit lane to try and counter Thomas Harvey's undercut, which leaves Georges Nader, Ismail Fassi and Jan Haladej coming into the pit lane. Jake Finch pulls the trigger early as well, so Drake Dempsey comes out in P4, but where will Miklovic and Sipos come out? Jack West into P5. Because Miklovic and actually Miklovic has jumped Sipos in the pit lane. Not sure how that's happened, but Miklovic has jumped Patrick Sipos in the pit lane, and Thomas Harvey have jumped a lot of them, but Miklovic with the DRS trying to have a go on Thomas Harvey down the inside. Goes the Slovenian driver. They're very close between the two. Harvey's going to try and battle this as best he can. It's not going to work. Miklovic says no you don't, and Miklovic takes the net lead of the Grand Prix. Harvey takes a net P2 and Sipos is in a net P3 and it's not worked. And there goes Sipos actually down that inside, having a look on Harvey. He needs this if he wants to try and battle with Miklovic as much as he can. Sipos with a 3-second penalty that may be looked at by the stewards after the race by maybe Harvey forcing him off. But it's definitely not worked out for Race Clutch in the pit stops, and Sipos finds himself behind Miklovic and behind Harvey.
All I could think of is, was Sipos just a bit careful on his way into the pit lane? Was he, just maybe a bit cautious, and that has ended up costing him? Miklovic managing to get ahead of him, Harvey getting ahead of him as well. And Miklovic has broken the DRS race for Thomas Harvey at this moment in time. Obviously, Harvey, Sipos and Finch will be able to work together. Nader and Fassi coming to the pits as Jan Halliday is definitely trying something very different out here. He is staying out for a long time on this set of the soft tyres. Not quite sure that is going to be the strategy to go for, as there we're seeing Fassi comes out of the pit lane, Sipos getting jumping Thomas Harvey and getting jumped by Georges Nader, and there comes Jake Finch round the outside of Ismail Fassi, almost able to get alongside Thomas Harvey, skips over the curb in going for that move. Now can the FER man get back on ET8? Obviously, ET8 and FER, both two Spanish teams. Thomas Harvey really struggling with his ERS at the moment. Round the outside, tries Jake Finch into 4. That is the inside line for turn number 5. It'll be a fantastic move if he can pull it off. But Finch just having to stay in 11th place for now. What is a net 5th position. Miklovic in the net lead. He's got a penalty. So has Sipos. Georges Nader does not have the moment. So we're in a situation where it could be an effective VSR 1-2.
Yeah, right now it's absolutely brilliant for VSR to take this 1-2. Jan Halliday is the last one of the group to pull into the pit lane, and he's going to lose quite a bit in these pit stops, but it's crucial now that Sipos is going to push really hard. But right now it's looking very good, as I said, for VSR, and obviously late penalties can definitely change this if they are submitted. As we just run on board with Nader and Patrick Sipos. Here comes Miklovic trying to have a go on Moldova and gets the job done. Here comes Nader on Moldova and having a look on Miklovic, not going to happen. Sipos having a look on Moldova, not going to happen. To hit in towards Sector 2 and Sector 1, sorry. Here comes Sipos with the DRS and ERS to boot Moldova, and with the lack of DRS pulls to the left-hand side comes Sipos, easy as you like. And Patrick Sipos getting the job done on the Mercedes, but however not done yet, but Moldovan lets him have the position. Moldovan relegated to P8 and Patrick Sipos, easy as you like, up into P7, and Moldovan realising that's probably not going to be his fight and stays in his position in P7, but Sipos really is going to have to push on Georges Nader as much as he can now.
Yeah, I think a lot could depend on whether they could get the penalties removed. I wouldn't be surprised if that one with Harvey and Sipos did. I mean, Harvey's argument will be that move was never going to work, and Sipos's would be, well, there was enough of a gap there, was enough alongside, and you just didn't leave me any space on the exit of the corner, which happens almost any time we see a driver on the outside of turn number 5. It is Drake Dempsey comfortably leading the race on his own at the moment, 8 seconds ahead of Jack West. Himself, Marquis and Richie are battling not too far ahead of this battle at the moment as the DRS gets opened on Georges Nader, and will we see him go for the net lead of this race? Not on this occasion, quite happy to just stick on the back of Primoz Miklovic and Harvey and Finch. You can see how much time they've lost, as well as Fassi just getting stuck behind the back of Bogdan Moldovan. They're now more than a second behind Patrick Sipos. They'll be hoping that they can close things up on this lap and make it a 5-car train for the lead again.
Yeah, definitely so, and I think Nader just playing that game, just waiting for Miklovic or waiting for the last opportunity of the race to get the job done. So I just reckon that's probably going to be the case, and just happy to sit behind Miklovic as best as he can. And also with another penalty, he's having a torrid race so far, is the Ferrari man, and close actually to getting lapped as Drake Dempsey currently leading the way, yet to pit actually is they're getting quite close to the leaders. Obviously Miklovic leading this way with Richie P4, West P3, Marquis P2, and Drake Dempsey leading, and it's getting quite close. Nader versus Miklovic versus Sipos versus Harvey as well, and also versus Finch versus Fassi. versus Haladej. As Haladej gets past Moldovan. Here they come then. Here comes Georges Nader. Will he try for something this time around? He's getting a little bit closer using his ERS, so maybe going to try something. Pulse on the right-hand side, and this should be fairly easy for Georges Nader. Gets the job done, and Georges Nader up into the net lead of the Grand Prix.
Yeah, he's into the net lead of the race, and Ismail Fassi proving from early on that he's got the pace. He gets to move on Jake Finch as well. Don't write out Fassi for the podium in this race. It would be the first podium that FBR have taken this season. Jan Haladej pulled off a fantastic move coming into the stadium section earlier on there to get ahead of Bogdan Moldovan. He's just off the back of this train with the fresher tyres, but has used up a lot of his ERS in trying to stay in contact with these drivers. And there's been a great battle going on ahead for second, third and fourth, which these leaders have caught up to now, which in one way, this is a possibility for the incident. You've got all those cars getting mixed in, but Georges Nader's now thinking, I'm going to get DRS off these cars. This just makes my life so much easier for the next few laps.
Yeah, definitely. So it's just going to be a little bit easier for Nader to just try and bolt away from Miklovic. It's going to be a little bit harder for Miklovic as well. Just obviously he was lacking that DRS that it did have, as here comes actually Nader having a look on Richie. This is crucial if he wants to try and gap Miklovic as best he can, but Miklovic is going to try and follow through in the slipstream. Does Richie want to try and attack this on Nader? They're about side by side as Jack West goes for the move on Harlan Marquis. There goes Miklovic down the inside of Richie. He has to make that move to try and keep with Nader. Gets the job done momentarily and keeps that job done ever so slightly. Gets the job done. There we go. Miklovic up into P5 there. Gets just about there as actually Georges Nader having a look on Marquis as well. Gets the job done. There goes Sepos having a look on Richie. Not going to happen this time around as Marquis is next on Miklovic's hit list, and really he's really going to have to push as hard as he can now is Miklovic to try and catch up to Nader in this race.
Yeah, and of course for Sipos, he's stuck behind all these cars. Miklovic stuck behind Marquis, Nader stuck behind Jack West as well. It's not really the situation they would want to be in, and quite a lot of these cars are going to have the DRS, so this might be an opportunity for Georges Nader just to try and escape away in this race and see if he can do anything. And again, Ismail Fassi looking very racy. I think there might have been a tiny bit of contact there between himself and either Finch or Harvey, because Jake Finch is pushing the FBR man towards the wall. They're so close together. And Jake Finch, ever the opportunist, gets that move done, just starts dropping back because of his ERS usage. And I think we're going to see Fassi fighting for this one as well. Sipos and Richie fighting up ahead. Nader getting the move done on Jack West as Patrick Sipos and Tony Richie still going for this one, and Harlan Marquis defending for all he's worth on Primoz Miklovic. This is what they all were starting to worry about. I think that these medium runners, they're well within their rights too. They're putting up a fight at the moment.
Yeah, definitely so. Obviously, they are fighting for position, so they're allowed to do whatever they want. As Thomas Harvey getting the job done on Tony Roche, and I'm sure for the guys who have already made this, that was quite a bit of an annoyance just to make sure. There goes Sipos having a look on Marquis. A very interesting move there. Not going to happen. That was probably never going to happen for Patrick Sipos there. Just not quite close enough to make that move. And he's lost a lot of time now. Almost about 9/10 to Harlan Marquis there. It's down the inside. Goes Fassi on Tony Roche. Does he get the job done? He forces Roche well off, which loses a position to Jake Finch. Very, very close. Marquis goes off the track there and loses a position to Sipos. So that is fairly easy for Sipos to make that job done. And Miklovic. Oh!
Sorry to interrupt, Miklovic has gone round in all of that. Miklovic has gone round. I don't know whether he spawned and then recovered it and meant to go into the pits, or whether this was an accident to end up going into the pits. But no, Primoz Miklovic, sorry to interrupt you there, Josh, has lost his front wing. And this is a big, big disaster for the WOR team. Things were going so well for them. Fassi gets ahead of Harlan Marquis. And all this battling has just allowed Jan Haladej on fresher tyres than everyone in front of him to get back into this field. Do not write out the ADRT driver yet, as Finch and Marquis are battling. It seems like a Red Bull has been fighting every single corner for the past 3 or 4 laps now, whether it's been Marquis or Richie. Finch just far enough ahead of Marquis, who gets a bit of wheel spin on, and Haladej surely he's going to have to yield on this one down the inside into turn number 7 there. There's contact between himself and Marquis, and I imagine those two might be having a few words with each other at the end of this race. It is now Drake Dempsey leading this race And George Nader, in all of this chaos, has got a 2.4 second lead. Things looking very good for the VSR man.
Absolutely, and looking good for VSR in general, with obviously Patrick Sipos having that penalty, which means Thomas Harvey up into P3 and Drake Dempsey yet to pit will be up into P2. Thomas Harvey. Donoso with another penalty editors now. Believe he now has been lapped. I'm not 100% sure. No, he hasn't. Not just yet. Has Donoso just been such a terrible race for him, which is not what you want to see at all. From a little bit of a collision, I think, on lap 1, as a lot of the guys off the mediums now decide to pit for the soft compound of tyres. They all pit off the lap, which makes it a little bit easier for the following pack. But yeah, Georges Nader, the 2.5 second gap to Patrick Sipos. He's absolutely doing brilliantly so far as Nader. Obviously, getting P2 on his debut last time at China, right now is looking likely to get P1 here in Mexico. It's been a brilliant season so far for Nader on his very, very short appearance in TGC, and it's happened with no higher than a second place finish so far. If he can just try and keep it off track. Currently, Thomas Harvey battling away with Patrick Sipos. Doesn't really need to attack as much if he wants to, but if he wants to, then he's going to have to go for that position on track through and towards the stadium section. Thomas Harvey versus Sipos. This is going to get a little bit tasty as Drake Dempsey pulls into the pit lane, which means Georges Nader will take the leads of the Mexican Grand Prix. Patrick Sipos pulls it into P2. Thomas Harvey takes P3, and Fassi into P4, close behind Thomas Harvey. And I'll tell you what, Ismail Fassi is definitely on for a podium here, and actually he is on for a podium with Patrick Sipos' penalty.
Yeah, he's putting a fantastic performance at the moment. I can't really complain with anything Fassi has done. I'd love to have seen him in some free air though, because he looks extremely quick. He's been the only car that's really been in these DRS trains and still look like he could make a move at any single moment, so things aren't going too bad for him. Drake Dempsey has come out in 7th place on that set of the soft tyres, and who knows, with penalties for a couple of drivers ahead of him, as long as he keeps it clean, penalty-wise, top 5 finish is definitely on, and maybe even more here. I would not count out WOR for a podium just yet. Drake Dempsey is doing a very solid job, as Crappy and Butcher are having their battle in the background. Butcher, obviously, he's going to have to come into the pits after pitting early on with damage. Andrew Crappy started on a set of the soft tyres, yet somehow was the first driver to come into the pits, just trying something different. He's in 9th place at the moment, as Donoso gets a pit lane speeding penalty, and they're nearly always followed by a retirement from the race. Just not gone well for him, and that retirement and the incident on lap 1 could be the final nail in the coffin for TF10's championship chances. Looking at the penalties at the moment, Sipos, Finch, Butcher, Crappy, Marquis, Perez, Miklevčić and Moldovan all have that time penalty at the moment, as Jack West with a very brave move there on Andrew Crappy, just proving how useful these soft tyres are.
Absolutely, and he's not done yet. He's getting quite close to Butcher. Butcher really defending very, very close to the wall there is Butcher, but Jack West says, all right, I'll just go for you with the DRS easy as you like. And also his AI going quite close to the middle of the track there, which is a little bit interesting to say the least, but we'll move along as Jack West up into P8. He's had a great race from the back of the field, and I tell you, to watch out for Jack West. He's done just that. He's been absolutely fantastic so far, and currently in the points with a P8 finish for Parnell. The only Parnell driver left in this race is Sam McBride, did retire early on in the session, so we'll continue with that. But Jack West having a great race, as I said. Meanwhile, they're at the field. It's battle for P2 really growing up with Thomas Harvey versus Sipos. Ismail Fassi as really closing up is all of them, and now if Buck overtakes Thomas Harvey, it's looking for a P2 finish for now on debut, which is an absolutely fantastic way to start your debut. And the final corner comes the driver up towards the DRS line. Here he comes then, Ismail Fassi. Is he close enough to Thomas Harvey? Probably not, with Harvey having the effects of DRS and Patrick Sipos. I think Fassi is just going to have to wait a little while longer, with Miklevčić getting another 3-second penalty.
Yeah, Miklevčić, obviously, you can argue with what's happened with Donoso, Butcher and Bean, probably the unluckiest driver in this race. There's been big issues for a lot, and no matter what happens, VSR just seem to be getting away with it here. There's still 12 and a bit laps to go. There's still a third of this race. Still time for incidents to happen. I have seen before George Leader Mason have an issue with his wheel that caused some damage. He'll definitely be crossing his fingers that nothing like that happens this time. And thankfully, we've still got drivers fighting further down the field. Moldovan now up into 11th, gets the move done on Primoz Miklevčić. You never know, there could still be points for one of these drivers, depending on safety cars, depending on any issues happening further on in this race. Dempsey and West, they're going to try and catch up to those leaders, but without the DRS, I think by the time they catch them up, they'll have probably seen the best of the soft tyres, and then it'll be extremely hard for Dempsey, because he definitely will catch them up, and possibly West, to get any moves done. But as long as they keep it clean, they're still on for some very, very respectable finishes here.
Yeah, absolutely. So, yeah, it's going to be very, very tough for the likes of Dempsey and below to just try and catch up. Obviously, 4.8, it's not impossible, but it's definitely going to be a very, very tough ask for Drake Dempsey to just try and catch up. Meanwhile, Thomas Harvey getting extremely close to the back of Patrick Sipos in that Alpine, just a little bit too far back is Harvey on that occasion, but getting much, much closer than he has been this whole battle. With about 11-10 laps to go in this race, Harlan Marquis and Tony Richet switch arounds at Shazoo. Marquis up into P9, Richet up into P10. Marquis still on a penalty though, as still Bogdan Moldovan and Miklovic also battling away for P11 and P12. We stick with this battle for P2. Isma Fassi has really put the pressure on Thomas Harvey and really put his foot down really hard to try and catch up to this battle. And I wonder if he just wants to try and have a go on Thomas Harvey in towards turn 1, in towards the stadium section they come. Hop on towards the right, getting close onto the curb on the left. And another left-hander coming up towards the stadium section and staying tight to the curb, cutting that as much as you can. You can ride that sausage curb if you want to. Round in the final corner, will Fassi use any of his DRS to try and get closer is the question. Thomas Harvey riding on about 70%, so he's really high on his DRS so far. Sipos only on 20%. Here comes Thomas Harvey closing up to Sipos. This should be a fairly easy move for the VSR man. Is Sipos going to defend? Is Harvey going to have a look down the inside? No, he's not. He's going to wait a little while longer, but Sipos actually lets him have that move done. Obviously one in the DRS, but I think it may be a little bit too much. Sipos will not get the DRS, and he's messed up that much because there's only one detection zone, and Sipos has definitely misjudged that. And now Fassi is going to have a look on Sipos as well down the inside. Contact made, and Fassi's round. No. Fassi having such a good race, and it came to incident, and Fassi down that inside, not going to work, and Fassi is spun round out of a good position. He leaves the session in anger, and that is so unfortunate for Isma Fassi, running so well, on for maybe a podium, and it's ended like that, and he's down into P7, and it's not worked for Isma Fassi, and it's not worked for Patrick Sipos.
No, I mean, I could see what Sipos was doing. He was thinking, you know what, I'll save myself a bit of ERS here, I'll let the cars ahead through. Like you said, there's only one detection point, so doing that into turn 4 would have been the wise move, and he just gave Fassi the opportunity. Well, we'll have to see. We had a helicam angle that kind of made it look a bit like it was 6 of one and half a dozen of the other, but I'm certain we'll be seeing that one going to the stewards, because Fassi, you know, he was in this race, he was on for a podium, and now that he's disconnected, he'll be getting no points whatsoever in this one. So it is now a 1-2 for VSR on track. Neder in the lead, Thomas Harvey in second place, Sipos and Finch third and fourth, both of them with time penalties, which means Jan Hallenegg, he stayed out that tiny bit longer. He's been rewarded with a possible opportunity of a podium. And what also means is there's less cars for Drake Dempsey to get overtakes done on. He's on for P4 if the race finishes this lap after penalties. Could we see the WOR man, perhaps not the WOR car that we expected, but could we see one of the Aston Martins end up on the podium for the first time this season?
It could definitely so, and as you were saying, the soft white die, it definitely hasn't for Drake Dempsey. He's definitely been nursing those cars, those tyres ever so slightly, and really pushing on the back of Hallenegg, and now finds himself in the DRS. So absolutely, if he passes Jan Hallenegg, he's on for a podium here. Is the USA man, and the first podium for WOR. Through into the left-hander comes Drake Dempsey, hop on towards the right. He's had a brilliant race so far as Dempsey from P11 on the grid finds himself in P6 right now, finding himself P4 with the penalties, and I tell you what, he's going to find himself into P3. He's going to get it done before the DRS. Side by side, Hallenegg versus Dempsey, Dempsey versus Hallenegg, they're still side by side, separated by 11 thousandths of a second. Door to door, wheel to wheel, down the inside goes Dempsey. Very close. Dempsey holding it around the inside, gets the job done, and Dempsey up into P5, which now finds himself on the podium for WOR with penalties going his way. It's Derek Dempsey up into P5, right now in P3, and it's looking good for WOR and Drake Dempsey.
Yeah, it is indeed a fantastic performance from them. His teammates still battling quite hard with Bogdan Moldovan for 10th place at the moment. Alfie Butcher sets the fastest lap of the race, and a reminder for anyone new to TGC who might be wondering what the point system is, it's identical to the one used in Formula 1, which means if you do get the fastest lap, you will get a point, but only if you finish within the top 10. Samuel Bean and Nardi Perez having their own battle further down. I don't think we'd have expected Bean, Perez and Fassi to be some of those cars a long way down the order, and likewise with Alfie Butcher as well, who, you never know, keeps up this good pace that we know he's got. He's got fresher softs than anyone else ahead of him. Could still possibly sneak a point in this race. We'll have to wait and see, as Dempsey looking very quick once again. He's got no ERS, but the traction he's got off those soft tyres, he doesn't need any at the moment. Gets himself up into 4th place. Could we even possibly see Drake Dempsey fight for 2nd place with Thomas Harvey here? That lack of ERS just costing him towards the end of the straight. He's still got that grip though. Dempsey is now up into 4th. I wonder if Sipos is thinking, I might have to make some moves done here, because you'll never know whether that penalty could get removed.
Absolutely, so, and he may get another one for Fassi's incident, but we'll leave that to the stewards for now. But Dempsey looking fantastic on those soft compound tyres, and yeah, as you said, could spoil the VSR 1-2 party. Georges Nader is looking set and comfortable to win this Grand Prix, but it's just an incident to see who will finish P2. Samuel Bean gets the fastest lap of the Grand Prix for Race Clutch. Drake Dempsey really pushing that Aston Martin car to the limit, and right now is looking on the back of Patrick Sipos. Currently P3 is good for the race. Will it be good for the for after the race is another question. If Sipos can get that removed. Through in towards the final corner comes Dempsey. Will he get the traction he has on Jake Finch and Jan Halliday? He gets a pretty decent one, but will he have the DRS to find out? DRS wide open for the WOR man. Here he is in towards the slipstream. Does he pull to the right hand side? Sipos in the slipstream of Harvey. Does he want to go for that move to try and defend? Sipos is going to go for that move. Is Drake Dempsey holding it around the outside? Yes, he is. Just backs out of it ever so slightly to make sure nothing bad happens. And it's getting a little bit tight there. Sipos had to have a look on Thomas Harvey to try and defend from Drake Dempsey, and it wasn't going to happen for Dempsey this time around. Meanwhile, Jan Halliday and Jake Finch having a look down the inside. There goes Finch up into P5, and still Drake Dempsey is going to have to wait a little while longer to try and have a look on Sipos with only 6 laps to go.
Yeah, he looked as though he didn't use as much ERS coming out the final corner, so maybe just trying to save things at the moment. These are having a brilliant battle, and out in front, Georges Nader, now that he's not having to do any defending, 5.5 seconds ahead out the lead of this race. This is looking like a supremely dominant performance from Georges Nader, and looking like he's going to be rewarded with the maximum points. Could it be another VSR 1-2, a second in a row with Sipos for Race Clutch at the moment, looking like he's going to score their sole points. Alfie Butcher barely going to score any points whatsoever. This is a big step towards VSR claiming the inaugural TGC title. Back on board with Drake Dempsey then. 6 laps to go. Closing in the slipstream once more. Last time around, Sipos went for the move on Thomas Harvey, almost more as a last resort to defend. This time it looks like a much more attacking move on the McLaren driver, but backs out of it at the last minute, and Dempsey having to back out to avoid being taken out round the outside. That has slowed the pair of them down. And you never know, Jake Finch might be able to get himself back involved in this action. The Mercedes driver, there's not a gap on the inside, Finchy, so I'm not quite sure why we're trying that one. I can see, though, why Drake Dempsey, is trying one round the outside of 4. That gives him the inside for 5. And Jake Finch is going to attempt the cutback here. This is brilliant battle in between all those cars. A tiny bit of wheel-to-wheel contact. And somehow, after all what's happened there, the cars end up in the same order.
Absolutely, but Drake Dempsey losing so much time from battling with Jake Finch. He's now 7/10 back on Patrick Sipos, and those soft tyres are starting to die ever so slightly on Drake Dempsey's Formula 1 car. They come towards the stadium section once again, trying to gain as much as he can. Is Drake Dempsey gaining about a 10th there through Sector 3, so he's had a fairly good Sector 3 is the question. If you can try and catch up to Sipos if you can, with the benefit of the DRS, he's going to catch up to Harvey nevertheless. Here they come then. down towards the back straight. Jake Finch has lost a lot of time to Dempsey, and now under the grasp of Haladesh. Sipos, is he going to have a look down then inside? No, he's not. He's a little bit too far back, but Dempsey really catching up now to the back of Sipos, and it only took him half a lap to catch up in towards lap 32 of 36. 4 laps to go in this Mexican Grand Prix with only 2 rounds left to go. VSR are definitely looking the favourites for the title at the moment, currently holding a 1-2. That could change if Drake Dempsey passes Sipos and Harvey for P2. Sounding like Buxton, if I'm being honest, with pointing out the obvious. Here comes into sector 2 with Dempsey and Sipos. Harvey really under the cuss here from Sipos. Stepping in towards sector 2, a little bit of a moment there from Drake Dempsey, holds it together, and I wonder if Drake Dempsey may be a little bit more aggressive heading into 1 on Patrick Sipos.
I mean, a few times he's tried the outside at turn number 1 and had to back off because he couldn't make the inside line work into turn number 2. I wonder if just going for a switchback out of 2 and 3 might be the move here for Drake Dempsey, because he needs to start doing something. And again, he's had a brilliant exit here. He's right underneath the rear wing of Patrick Sipos, who even with the DRS is going to have to go defensive. He's pushing him right towards the end of the track, and Drake Dempsey is not going to be intimidated. Can he make it down the inside? Not on this occasion, but again, Thomas Harvey is just forced that tiny bit wide by Patrick Sipos, who is going to go for the switchback that I mentioned, and he's going to have the DRS down towards turn number 4. He's not been able to make it work, though, on this occasion. It's going to be the long way round for turn number 4, which does present itself with the inside line for turn number 5, getting very close between Sipos and Dempsey, and once more, things just stay as they are for another lap. Sipos has plenty of ERS saved up at the moment. I feel like if he wants to really go for this on Thomas Harvey, he should be able to get the move done, which would be an intelligent idea, because if he gets that penalty removed, that is going to be a massive lifeline for Race Clutch's championship chances.
Yeah, I think he's just going to have to go for that move now as Patrick Sipos. It's going to have to be now or never in a couple of laps' time just to try and make sure he gets that P2, but he's got Drake Dempsey much behind him. I wonder if Patrick Sipos is just very, very worried about that WOR man in his rear view mirrors, that green machine of that Aston Martin, getting a little bit worrying for Patrick Sipos. Here comes Drake Dempsey once again. Does Sipos try and defend, or would he go for the move on Thomas Harvey? Here they come then into the strip seam. Sipos pulls to the right hand side. Does he get the job done? No, he's not. He's going to wait and tries to defend with Dempsey. Dempsey threads the needle. Not going to happen. Sipos having a look on Harvey. It's still not going to happen for Sipos. He's not making that move. It's just very, very interesting, but he's going to have a look on the switchback nevertheless on Thomas Harvey, which is still not going to work to his advantage. Here comes Drake Dempsey having a look on Harvey down the inside. Sipos this time around goes to the outside, just does outbrake himself. It's not going to happen, but this time around gets the job done. Here comes Drake Dempsey holding it around the outside, a contact made, and Harvey gets spat out off into P4. Velassi with tyres in the pit lane. Harvey losing 2 positions. Drake Dempsey muscling his way this time around, gets into P3, which now pulls into a P2 situation and can just sit back on Drake Dempsey. Right now, Jan Haladesh is on the podium with Harvey in P5, and it's really happens on lap 34 or 36. It's getting very, very, very tasty in these final 2 laps.
And not only that, there was another big victim in that. Jake Finch got sent spinning around, coming through turn number 5. So he's now down in towards 9th place, with Moldovan, Miklicic, Butcher all on a set of soft tyres, closing in quite rapidly. This race has taken a very dramatic turn in the final few seconds, but it is Nadir leading from Sipos. Well, I say from Sipos, I think very soon it could be from Drake Dempsey if he can make anything work on those soft tyres. He's on for a podium. Even if Sipos does get that 3 seconds penalty removed, he could be well on for a 2nd place if he can make a move work. Haladesh 4th, Harvey in 5th. Jack West is now up into 6th place. And let's not forget, West started right at the back of the grid, 19th out of 19 cars. And this is why you don't give up. He's kept on fighting. He had a fantastic start to the race, obviously. And he's going to be rewarded with at least 8 points for the AlphaTauris for Parnell Racing. And who knows, with the way these final few laps have gone, you wouldn't be surprised if there's another sting in the tail for this battle for 2nd place.
Yeah, definitely so. And on towards the final lap, Georges Nader has had the perfect Grand Prix. First, well, he's almost set the race for practically the whole race this time around. he enters the final corner and onto the last lap of the Grand Prix. It's the battle between Patrick Sipos and Drake Dempsey, which is really going to have the biting of the fingernails. Here comes Patrick Sipos defending very, very aggressively to Drake Dempsey into the DRS and the slipstream, and the ERS is on for the American driver. Pulls to the left-hand side on towards the racing line. Side by side goes Dempsey and Patrick Sipos. Dempsey round the outside, gets the job done. Drake Dempsey up into P2, dispatches of Patrick Sipos. He may be an Alpine F1 Esports driver, but Drake Dempsey gets the better of him, and Dempsey up into P2 on the last lap of the Mexican Grand Prix.
Yeah, he's up into P2. Miklavčič and Finch are having their own little battle as well, with Moldovan getting involved in all of this. This is for the final points places, but penalties are going to be the key. Thomas Harvey looking very close to the back of Jan Halliday. Just things are just getting a tiny bit cloudier here, but we're not going to matter. We are not going to see any rain in this race. Is Thomas Harvey going to go for a move on Jan Halliday here? He could make this work into turn number 12. Round the outside into 12 he's going to go. That'll give you the inside line for turn number 13. And I think Thomas Harvey has somehow made that one work. His teammate Georges Dadair crosses the line, takes victory in this race. It's going to be second place for Drake Dempsey. Sipos is third across the line, but Thomas Harvey, right at the death, clinches the podium. Almost a perfect race for VSR. Halliday in fourth, Sipos drops down to fifth, Jack West in sixth place, Tony Vichy in seventh, and the rest of the points finishers will end up being Moldovan, Butcher and Jake Finch. But a dominant performance from Georges Dadair. It is 2 victories in a row for VSR. It's 2 races in a row where they've had both drivers on the podium. They've got one hand on the championship, surely.
Yeah, that is probably going to be a very, very, very dominating drive there from VSR. And I wonder, yeah, that may be the one hand on the title that they may need, and a little bit less needed at USA, as that will be a brilliant race for VSR next time around. But a brilliant drive as well for Drake Dempsey to get WR's first podium of the season. A brilliant outing for them, and also VSR for Thomas Harvey getting that P3, much deserved, right at the death. Patrick Sipos with that penalty just didn't work out in the end, but what a drive from Georges Nader. What a drive from him. Dominant display, wins the race by 8 seconds to Drake Dempsey. 7.6, sorry, to Drake Dempsey. What a drive from him. And he takes maximum points heading into USA with 2 rounds to go with his teammate in P3. That may be just one hand on the TGC trophy.
Yeah, it could well be indeed. So the provisional results then from round number 8 here. Georges Dadair takes the victory, a second in a row for VSR. Drake Dempsey, a brilliant performance on that alternate strategy. Who knows what could have been if he'd have managed to stay in DRS range in those first few laps. He finishes second. Thomas Harvey, a last-ditch move, just knocking Jan Halliday off the podium, who becomes the first driver, other than Lenny Papinta, to score points for Dictos this season. Sipos, West, Ritchie, Moldovan, Butcher and Finch, the rest of the points finishers. And then it is Marquez, Miklavčič, Karapi, Perez, Bean, Fazzi we saw obviously disconnect after he had that incident early on. Balati retiring in the pits later on, and Donoso and McBride also drivers who retired in the pit lane for what was a frantic, a dramatic race here in Mexico. We'll be back with debrief and race interviews very shortly. Yeah, superb performance there from Georges Dadair. Sees him take the victory. His teammate, at one bit it looked like it was going to be a VSR 1-2, but a fantastic move on the final lap, getting Thomas Harvey back on the podium. And Drake Dempsey doing a superb job on that alternate strategy to take second position. And things looked good from VSR straight away from lap 1. We obviously saw Samuel Bean have his issues. We didn't see what happened to Butcher and Donoso, but that's really took TF10 out of this championship battle now. I think there's something like 80 points behind with 2 races remaining. It's a 2-horse race, and one of these horses has a clear lead.
Absolutely so, and I think 80 points, that's a little bit too much for TF10. I think there's only about 52 points remaining in the season now, and I think that's going to be enough for TF10 to be out of this championship, but this really brings out VSR for the titles for the inaugural season with Race Clutch P4, I think it was, in the end P5 for Patrick Sipos, and obviously Samuel Bain just getting out of just not having enough in the tank at the end of, well, not at the end, he got taken out near lap 1, which is just so unfortunate for him, but hopefully he can try and come back once again next time around. But yeah, it's just so unfortunate for Race Clutch there, but VSR having a brilliant racing once again, 2 on the bounce and 2 race wins, with George Nader this time around picking up the race win, and I think we are joined by him now.
Yeah, we are joined by our top 2 drivers, and we'll start with our race winner for the first time this season. I think that is now the 3rd victory for VSR. It is George Nader. An absolutely brilliant race from yourself in the end, getting ahead of that traffic earlier than everyone else, proving to be crucial, because once you got 1 second ahead, you looked unstoppable.
Yeah, I mean, it's a great race, to be honest. I didn't really expect the outcome to come up that way, because Mexico is like my worst track, and I PB'd in Q3. In practice I barely was managing to valid 0.4s. So yeah, but yeah, as you said, I think what won me the race is getting through the traffic. I mean, I built the gap of like 1.5-2 seconds to Primoz, and then unfortunately he got damaged, which obviously opened up the gap even more behind.
Yeah, certainly. I mean, tell us about how tough it is fighting through that traffic, because obviously it helps you out with the DRS, but they are a lot slower than you at that point in the race, and you've got to be quite careful about where you make the moves, because you never quite know if they're going to let you by easily, like Moldovan did, or they're going to fight a bit harder, which both of the Shizou drivers looked like they were doing.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, it's always a risk, you know, making these moves, especially like you would say on the straight, yeah, in easy DRS pass, but some people brake earlier, and when you're like 4 or 5 people in a train, you don't know where everyone's braking points are. So yeah, I mean, obviously, like China, I had to take a bit of risks, but obviously they had to be measured, and I think both races it paid off, so I'm quite happy with that.
Quite a big margin now, we believe, in the championship for VSR, somewhere around 40 points. Heading into USA, do you know if you'll be racing yet? And if you are, do you think you could help VSR clinch the championship with 1 round to go?
I don't know if I'm racing. I mean, we usually all practice as a team. We're like 4 or 5 drivers, or even the whole PC roster, if available. We all practice together, and whoever is the quickest in practice get to obviously be on the roster. So I hope I could still be on the roster, and hopefully whoever drives can clinch that championship with 1 race to go. That would be awesome.
Yeah, we'll have to see how things go next time out at Austin. Congratulations, George, on your victory. We'll let you head off, and we'll start talking to the man who finished in 2nd place, a first podium this season for WOR for Drake Dempsey. Josh, I'll let you take us through this interview.
Great. That is the first podium for yourself, for the first podium, I believe, for WOR this season. That's got to be a very, very nice feeling.
Yeah, it was. It certainly feels nice after qualifying where we did, but it wasn't all smooth. But we worked out nicely, and yeah, I mean, couldn't be more happy about getting P2 on the grid
Absolutely.
for WOR
Well,
for the first time.
yeah, absolutely. That's got to be a very, very tough ask. Obviously, you're battling a lot for those final 10 or so laps with Patrick Sipos. Was it ever intimidating battling with an F1 esports driver? Obviously, the caliber of Sipos is absolutely fantastic. Were you ever worried that you may have not been able to overtake him, but were those softs just absolutely way too quick for Sipos' mediums?
They certainly had a little bit more grip over the mediums at the end. A little bit, not much at all. They were basically equal near the end, but yes, of course, you feel a factor of intimidation when, well, you were started racing, you see all these fast guys and you admire them, and be like, wow, I wish I could be like that one day. And when you get to race them, for the first few times, I hadn't really had much experience racing these type of caliber drivers, esports calibers recently, until a few months. So it's definitely been a learning curve, and it's gotten better each time. So nerves will eventually go away, and it'll become like I'm just racing any other driver instead of racing drivers I used to admire and aspire to be like. So yes, there's definitely an intimidation factor, and yeah, I mean, go back to WRT 1, I felt like my body was numb for that last lap. So yeah, it's definitely intimidating.
Yeah, absolutely. Obviously, USA next week, 2 rounds left to go. Do you think you'll be on the roster, and do you think you can bring home some more podiums and more points for WR?
Not next week. I won't be available next week, but hopefully the week after, I would say. Brazil, very strong track for me, and I've done it so much recently, it's basically I could trace the track in my mind, but yes, hopefully I get into Brazil. My home track unfortunately wouldn't be able to race, but you know what, I wouldn't really want to race on the older layout before the new one on the next game is out again.
Absolutely. Well, massive congratulations to you on your P2, and good luck for the final 2 races of the season.
Thank you.
Yeah, thanks to Drake for joining us, and George as well. I think, unfortunately, we're not going to be able to get Thomas Harvey, who did that fantastic move to get 3rd place on the final lap, really putting, you know, VSR in a good position. But for a while, we thought it might be Ismail Fassi joining him on the podium, and that incident with Patrick Sipos, I think, will be quite hotly debated. There's been a few hot debates this season that the stewards have had to try to tame and have to deal with. How did we see that? It looked like Fassi. Yes, it was from quite a bit back, but it looked like he'd got far enough alongside, and we know what this game's like. You get hit on the front of your car, more often than not, you're the one that's sent spinning around, and such a shame to see a good performance end up with nothing.
Absolutely. Fassi was probably the fastest man on that grid tonight. He was absolutely immaculate for the whole race. So it's just so unlucky that race happened. Well, the incident happened the way it is. From the way I was looking at it, I thought, yeah, same as you, he probably was just enough alongside to have a look and be awarded the space. But obviously, with the physics, how F1 2021 is, it's not a very nice physics model that they've made. So obviously, it's going to be one that's probably more than likely going to end up in a collision, which is unfortunate. Obviously, Patrick probably should have gave Isma maybe a little bit more room, but obviously he's battling away with Thomas Harvey. I believe they were 3 wide, I'm not 100% sure, but it's a tough one. Obviously, if all the POVs are submitted and everything is obviously all in line and everything, then we'll have to wait and see what the steward's decision is. But I think probably more Patrick is probably more to blame for that one. But at the end of the day, I'll leave that one to the stewards. I'm not really one to comment on what happens. I'm just there to shout out the action. So I'll have to wait and see what happens at the stewards result, and just we'll have to go from there. But yeah, Isma Fassi was probably the fastest man today, and just so unlucky that that whole race was probably gone to waste for him.
Yeah, I think obviously other drivers that were unlucky as well. Right from the start of the race, Samuel Bean not having the cleanest of getaways, getting damage on lap 1, ruining any chances he had of getting any points. We saw Mick Levchich had a spin, Butcher and Donoso both with issues as well. They'll all be hoping that they can fight quite hard next time around, because the next race is going to be, as we've already mentioned, at the Circuit of the Americas. Quite a good circuit, one that is enjoyed by, you know, I'd say a lot of the drivers, and another one where the alternate strategy works pretty well.
Yeah, absolutely. USA, obviously, there's a few overtaking opportunities. There's many overtaking opportunities if you think about it. Obviously, similar back straight into turn 1, but obviously down near sector 2, where a lot of overtaking opportunities can be done. I'm sure a lot of moves can be done. Maybe a few collisions may happen along the way if you get a little bit too interested. But yes, the brilliant track, one of the ones I like to race around and also commentate over. There's usually a lot of great action that happens around there, so it should be a really, really good race to commentate over next week. And with only 2 rounds left to go, this can definitely be one that maybe see VSR be crowned champions, but we'll never know. I think Race Clutch will definitely have to bring out a very, very, very strong roster to try and get this race win. But we'll have to wait and see, and hopefully Race Clutch get a little bit more luck this time around.
Yeah, definitely would not count out Race Clutch yet. We've seen stranger things happening in the real world and in esports as well. Thank you so much, everyone, to joining us today. Thanks to Drake and George for their interviews. Thanks to Josh for joining me in the commentary box again. And as he said, we will be back next week for the penultimate round of the Global Championship powered by GT Omega at the Circuit of Americas. And will it be a triumph in Texas for VSR? Can they clinch the title? Or will Race Clutch keep it going to the final round in Interlagos? From myself and Josh, take care of yourselves, everyone, and goodbye.